Good morning. Welcome to SMART Aquaculture Conference. As you know, this is part of Taiwan SMART Agriweek, and we're here one day before the exhibition actually opens, which is tomorrow and running for 3 days. But I'm here as your moderator. In fact, I'm co-moderating with Dr. Alan Wu, and he will be speaking later in the program. We have 7 presentations this morning. I will tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the publisher of International Aquafeed magazine and International Pet Food magazine, along with Milling and Grain. And I'm also the past Secretary General of the International Feed Industry Federation, which I formed actually in 1987, or co-founded in 1987. Aquaculture has become an important food source and will help us feed 9.5 billion people by 2050. We are adding some 75 million people to the planet every year, and protein, if we're not careful, might be in short supply for some communities globally at some point in the next 25 years. And we see, or I see personally, that aquaculture has an important role to play in meeting that demand for protein, food protein. So today is very important. As I say, we have 7 speakers, and we will be covering subjects from as vast as premixes for microalgae through to knowing better how AI surveillance is affecting our industry, strengthening our aquaculture supply chains through certification. We'll also look at smart shrimp farming and regenerative practices. And after a coffee break, we will finish with 3 presentations on sustainable aquaculture. One on strategies for aquafeeds, second on protein from microbes, and finally, sustainable aquaculture from operation and scopes. But enjoy the day. And I'd like to introduce our first speaker, who is Joe McDonald, the Managing Director and founder of Vericom Aqua from the UK. Welcome, Joe.
Flask, a 10-litre flask, you add your nitrates, phosphates, ferric chlorides, and you boil it. I never liked that. It didn't seem terribly safe to me. It seemed terribly laborious, and of course you're relying on somebody to accurately weigh out the raw materials every single time. To that, you then have your trace metals, copper chloride, cobalt chloride, manganese, and so forth, which again have to be acidified with nitric acid or sulfuric acid to keep them in suspension. Again, not very safe. I'd never liked that as a user. And then you have your vitamin stocks. And then when you want to produce a liquid stock to feed to the microalgae, you have to combine those in the correct ratio. So if you have a competent, qualified technician, very straightforward, very simple, but people do make mistakes. And again, what I wanted to do was to come up with a methodology that removed those margins of error, would produce something that was safe to use. You didn't have to have 20 stocks in the cupboard, all of the MSDSs, everything that goes with that. You have a single pack, everything's inside, and you just add it to deionized water. And it gives you exactly the same elemental composition. So if you look at the CCAP recipe and you look at our recipe, it's more or less identical. And that's the objective, is to deliver the exact same nutrition that you're used to, that you're familiar with, in a single pack that removes the necessity for all of these other chemicals and all of these other processes. So if one looks at the economic considerations, you can take these numbers with a pinch of salt. Like any sort of global market analysis, you're going to get a whole range of different numbers, but this is just to give you an idea of the sort of magnitude. So this is all of the microalgae industry, not just aquaculture. We reckon it's somewhere between 0.6 to 1.2 billion US dollars. We estimate it's 10 to 15,000 metric tons per annum. And the annual growth, we reckon, is somewhere in the order of 5 to 13%. This is everything from Nanochloropsis pastes, Haematococcus, spirulina, nutraceutical, cosmeceutical type products, as well as aquaculture products. If we look at our global breakdown, 31% of our sales are in Europe, 6% in Africa, and 63% in Australasia. The Australasia is an interesting one because this is product going to all of the shellfish hatcheries. So we have a great distributor in Australia, Fresh by Design, and that's by far the biggest market for us. So we're almost exclusively supplying the shellfish hatcheries in Australia with the Sell High products, which is a great testament to their efficacy. So why am I here in Asia? I love Asia. I've worked in Asia for a very long time. I live between Thailand and the UK. And you know, I'd love to share the Varicon love, so to speak, in terms of the product. Try and get people to move from what they do currently to do something new and innovative. Again, in terms of, and I'd love to talk to anybody here who runs commercial hatcheries, who has staff producing microalgae, to get some further insights into the costs here. This is a representative cost based on a large microalgae producer, so it doesn't really represent a micro hatchery. So labour costs are different in different countries, raw material costs are different in different countries, facility costs are different. So if anybody's here over the next few days and would love to share some insights, I'd really love to talk to you. But that gives you an overall view of the cost. So 2 to 5% of OPEX in microalgae production. It's quite a big cost. So this is a cost analysis, again, based on a large producer, not a micro producer. So this is a case study based on producing 100 kilos of stock. So this would put, so basically a kilo of F/2 on a batch basis would produce 10,000 litres of microalgae. So this is going to produce 100 kilos is going to produce 1 million litres of microalgae at a standard density. So if it's Nanochloropsis, in terms of cell density, 20 to 40 million cells per milliliter, 0.1 to 0.3 grams per litre of that sort of order. And again, the raw material costs aren't the biggest cost. It's the biggest cost for us at Varicon. But if you look at the labour cost, it's such a small part of it because you don't have to weigh out all of those stocks, you don't have to boil anything, you don't have to store anything. So we're saving you on the labour and time and effort and inconsistency in terms of production. So the product is used widely in academia, so increasingly it's becoming a standard for people producing microalgae in different research projects, and this could be everything from biofuel to synthetic biology, so a very large spread. So we have 22% in macroalgae. It's gaining quite some pace there. Interestingly, when we started selling F2 to macroalgae producers, everybody said it doesn't work, and we couldn't understand why. Now it's a standard. It's become accepted as a product that does the job. 90% in aquaculture, bioremediation, metabolomics, novel species, carbon capture and bioprocessing. So it's quite a broad spread in terms of the published data. This slide here is merely just illustrating a benchmarking against the standard F2. Again, this is from the culture collection of algae and protozoa media. You can go online, you can find this recipe, it's fairly standard. And all we're illustrating here is just the efficacy of our product. It's not statistically better, it's just consistently aligned with what one would expect from a standard media, which is exactly what we want it to do. Again, looking at Chaetoceros, same idea, benchmarked against a cell F2P, 17% improvement, but as I say, take that with a pinch of salt. So it's merely just indicating that it does exactly what it's supposed to do in the diatom platform. Nanochloropsis, this is a batch, intermittent batch harvest, and again just illustrating the efficacy of the product. Again, Tetraselmis, so all marine species. Chlorella vulgaris is of course a freshwater species, and this is using a media that we developed for Haematococcus production. So again, Haematococcus is used for the production of astaxanthin, which is a very, very expensive raw material. Predominantly goes into cosmetics and nutraceuticals. A little bit's used in aquaculture, but typically the asta in aquaculture is coming from Fafia yeast, for example, or it's a synthetic product, so it's a different stereoisomer. So Porphyridium, again a marine microalgae, just illustrating, I don't know what I've got here, difference in carboy production, batch production, and then the photobioreactor. So in terms of concluding, what does the product do? So it matches the biological requirements of algae species. It's utilised globally and increasingly so for a broad range of aquaculture species, fish, crustacea and bivalves. It offers a reliable, cost-effective means of substituting traditional production methods. It is a long-term stable storage, so as I say, it's a dry product, sachet, 1 kilo sachets. You could have it in a 25 kilo drum if you wanted it that way. It's sold in kilos, and it's sold in tons, and it's sold in tens of tons. Long-term shelf life, I actually use the product that's out of date in the hatchery and in the lab. We just set a date 2 years, but the only thing that degrades is the vitamin, and it's in excess. It's easy to use, so you just add it to water, deionized or distilled. You can autoclave it, but we don't recommend it. It's better if you're doing laboratory trials just to push it through a 0.2 micron or a 0.1 micron sterile filter. 100% of the essential nutrients are inside the pack, so no more weighing, no more mixing, no more blending. Just tear it, put it into water, shake it, away you go. It outperforms a lot of the self-made recipes that you use in the hatchery. Again, typically because of end user error. Somebody forgets to put the vitamin, somebody overweighs a trace metal. You're dealing in picograms and micrograms, so you can get it seriously wrong. In some cases it doesn't matter. I mean, we dose cell high F2P in our photobioreactors at 10 times conventional limits, and normally if you're growing F2 and Nanochloropsis in a bag, you'd be dosing about 75 milligrams per litre of nitrate, 6 to 8 milligrams per litre of phosphate. And our photobioreactors that grow at 10 to 15 times the density of a conventional bag culture system, we can be dosing at 750 to 1,000 milligrams. So long as the algae are adapted to that condition, they'll take very, very high concentrations without any problem. But you don't want to go from 75 to 1,000. It's too big a jump. You'll create some shock. But they will go there without any problem. It's universally accepted across many sectors. As I say, once you've used it, you'll never go back, hopefully. This is just a little video that my colleague Morton produced, and this just illustrates the efficacy of the product. It's not too long. Hopefully you won't fall asleep. That's it. Thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Try to click that on. Just click that on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Very intriguing. I'd like to ask Alan, Dr. Wu, to my co-moderator, to actually lead the discussion, because I'm sure there's interesting questions out there.
我在想可能不用中文，因为but I can translate.
Sure, yeah. Carry on.
所以从我们这个是比较是 algae 用在这种，不过它这个有一个自己的 special formula，but only one。但是从不同 species freshwater 这个 crustacean 它有 so many different species 非常的 needs， 所以有没有什么问题？我相信各位专家都来自各行各业哈，有些对这个他们这种比较稳定，然后比较有技术性含量的这个algae，有没有什么特别的问题？你稍微介绍一下你自己。
是你帮我翻译好不好？好，我是乔纳斯科技，我是专门在做那个 fine bubble 超微细气泡的。我们现在有一个实验，想要把 fine bubble 用二氧化碳来养藻类。好，那刚刚有看到它有一个好像叫 fine flow， 还有一个 pond flow 的这种系统。那这两个系统如果要选择的话，它有什么优缺点？在商业上的 commercial 应用有什么优缺点？它有一个
Sorry.
Yeah, no, carry on.
Okay.
fine cold flow 还有一个 pond flow。
Fine cold flow and pump flow. These two models.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you go back to that slide?
Ah.
Yes, basically a bubble, white bubble, high-tech
我
company.
要问的是说，这两个系统呢，
This slide here.
它在商业上，它这两个系统有什么优缺点？
Yeah, you just want to like.
Oh, okay, so the FICO bubble is a very simple photobioreactor. It's in our case you can have different tube diameters depending on what you want to do. So we have research clients who want to look at the swimming speed of microalgae, so we develop very small systems. And then you have customers who want to scale from Erlenmeyer carboy into a simple airlift photobioreactor, which gives you, in our case, we add a lot of data acquisition equipment to this, so pH, optical density, temperature, conductivity. So it's a research tool, or it's used to scale productivity. So it gives you good mass transfer. This is a 4-inch, 100 millimeter. The optimal is actually 32 millimeter in terms of photosynthetic efficiency. So it's used to scale. We also develop very small systems, 3 liters, using Teflon, silicone O-ring seals, so it's fully autoclavable. And again, to that you can add all of your temperature control, lighting control, photo period, intensity. So we build a lot of specialized equipment specifically for the client's needs, or you can just have a simple bubble column in PMMA or glass, but we tend to build in glass. So this is just the scale. The other one, the FICO Flow, this is our main product. So this is, again, glass, tubular, serpentine photo, so it's a true serpentine system. And we're building everything from small scale. You'll see it on the stand. We have a mini FICO Flow, which again is really just a research tool. It's a lot of money for not very much, but there's still a lot of cost involved. But it scales beautifully. So this one here is in Hawaii with Cyanotech, producing Haematococcus pluvialis for astaxanthin production. This client grows in ponds, but they wanted a fully controllable photobioreactor that produced their inoculums, because they were growing in columns which were always contaminated, small scale, very difficult to have the consistency. With this system here, you can harvest on a batch basis because it's Haematococcus, so every 5 days you can effectively take 60–70% of the system, move that to the pond, pre-stress and stress. With this system here, you can fill again with fresh water, nutrient, and it will grow away again. So this is our main system. So we're designing everything from a 50-litre FICO flow to 50,000-litre FICO flows. And the cost scales beautifully. So if you look at the cost per litre, say for a 50,000-litre FICO flow, for a 1,000-litre FICO flow, it's about, let's say, $75 per litre. If you move to the 50 cubic system, it's somewhere in the order of $10 per litre. So this is the go-to system now for industrial scale microalgae production for high value applications. We have increasingly a lot of clients in the aquaculture sector who are producing isochrysis, Chaetoceros. So there's a lot of myth around, and a lot of bullshit actually, around what you can and can't do. It's, as I always say, it's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. So we design the pump and the control system and everything around that to make it a viable proposition for you to produce almost anything.
This question is basically the pro and con of each.
Sorry?
Pro and con.
The pros and cons. Well, okay, sorry. The pros of the small one is it's small and controllable. The cons are
右边这个比较小，然后比较容易控制。
我去日本参观了哈，是底下这个哈 ，FICO pond 的这个，因为我们是要养野生红球藻，提炼虾红素，哈，用2氧化碳，好，那是不是说这个那个右下角的那个，它有什么优点跟缺点？如果再用2氧化碳，用 ultra fine bubble 来养殖的话
Producing astaxanthin.
Yes.
Use carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide and bicarbonate.
So, right. Which one you would recommend?
The FICO flow. That's the FICO flow. If you look globally at what people are doing, so you've Asterial, who are producing in illuminated tanks. They're actually transitioning to glass tubular. You have Atacama Bio in Chile producing astaxanthin in open ponds. You have Cyanotech Hawaii producing Haematococcus in open ponds. But the key players, Algalith in Iceland, Solabia in Israel, they're all producing in glass tubular photobioreactors, and when you ask why, it's controllable. You can control the temperature, you can control the light. There's no contamination, it's hermetically sealed. So it's a very high-tech way of controlling all of the conditions: temperature, nutrient, flow rate, light intensity, light quality, photoperiod. All of that's controllable. If you grow Haematococcus in ponds, you get a relatively low productivity, probably somewhere in the order of 2 to 3 grams per litre, or a titer of 2 to 3% pure astaxanthin. If you grow in the tubular photobioreactor, you're at 5 grams per litre and a titer of 4 to 5 grams per litre. It's transitional. It makes a complete difference to your operating cost.
So that is the main one is that what is
Yeah.
recommended for.
But there's also the question of scalability. If you're only producing 3 or 4 or 500 kilos of pure astaxanthin in this system,
Okay.
you're dead. You're not going to make any money. You need to be producing 1,000 to 1,500 kilos per annum in this type of system to justify the OPEX, the CAPEX and the OPEX. But it's an incredibly versatile system. It is I mean, if you want to depreciate it, you could depreciate it over 20 years.
如果你说养这个阿斯泰这个藻的话，它比较 prefer 的是这个 phyto flow 这种系统，比较稳定，
如果要养
量也比较大。
用那个 CO2 外八的那个，他建议那个。
Yeah. You can control the CO2 flow rate and the CO2 mass.
比较能够控制很多，不管是光线也好，营养素，特别在量大。
我们是印度的。
印度。
Yeah.
Because you have some experience in Japan.
Okay.
So maybe later on you could have more
Sure.
interactions.
Yeah, indeed. But we're building for everybody. So we're not just building for one customer, we're building for all sorts of customers.
Well, we have the manager can. Any other questions? 有没有其他的问题？
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have trade stand here, so if anybody's looking for any samples of the products, please come and visit the stand.
This is Sean from U.S. Soybean Export Council.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I look at several of your examples and just to try to understand that if you have any case that is the algae specifically shoot for omega-3 fatty acid, like scatocatriums, that type of. But I know all of them they contain some, but not that like a 30%.
No.
They kind of hide the.
So Schizochitrium isn't really a microalgae. It's in the phylogenetic table. It's quite far away from microalgae, but that's a very well established heterotrophic platform producing exclusively DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, so 22,6 omega-3. Microalgae, in particular diatoms, and the brown algae, so Isochrysis, Pavlova, Chaetoceros, these sorts of are very, very rich in omega-3 fatty acids, but they have a relatively low area percent of the longer chain fatty acids. So the challenge is not that they don't have a high content, it's just when you compare a phototrophic platform where your maximum cell density might be 10 grams per litre against a heterotrophic fermentation platform where you could be 50 to 200 grams per litre. It's very difficult to see the economic argument to grow omega-3 fatty acids. People are trying to do it, but it's madness in my opinion. It makes no economic sense, but you know, people like to dream, so let them dream. But I think technically it's a great solution, but economically I think it's a disaster. I'm not investing in algae omega-3 from phototrophic production.
Okay,
That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Good morning.
Gentlemen, ladies. So today I'm going to see how we use a computer technology to help you knowing better of your pond, and then you can act smarter. So I come from computer science. So actually we are computer scientists and engineers. And our mission is that to customize AI technologies for some specific application X. So that's what we call AI for X. And apparently, we start from AI for shrimps. So what we are doing is that what we want to leverage the state-of-the-art IoT technology to generate, analyze, and utilize biological big data. So we select the object that you are interested to observe, and starting from white shrimps and tiger prawn, and then we move to shrimp and fish larvae, and also microalgae as well. And then we are computers, so we use or even customize some equipment such that you can observe where they are. And then we construct a IoT system such that you can stream the data out and to collect a lot of data, and then use the AI, all sort of AI technologies to analyze it. And then you begin to have a biological big data about your harvest, size, weight, activity, feeding. And also we collect from the field around the world expert knowledges, such that with the data and the expert knowledge, so now you can have a smart management to reduce the risk, to increase the efficiency, to boost up your profit as well. So that's the mission, our missions. And here, we are hoping that we are going to bring in a revolution to shrimp aquaculture, because traditionally shrimp live in a very muddy water, and it really only depends on the on-site worker to help you to manage. So they are the only person to know what's going on in the pond. But nowadays, we begin to develop the necessary technologies such that you have a 24 hours, phase 4, ever learning AI assistant to help you. And usually our experience is that worker doesn't tell you everything. They just tell you part of the things. They tell you good things, but probably not bad things. But AI, very truth, phase 4, good news, bad news, so such that you can make more reasonable decisions. So the critical problem that we are solving is that shrimps live in muddy water. They live near the bottom, so it's difficult to observe. So their health and also the feed consumption, that's the general practice in Taiwan. I think also in South Asia country as well. So it's very subjective, very incomprehensive, and also very labor intensive and very risky. So what can we do? So that's why we try to fit in that we are finding that there's a missing puzzle in shrimp farming. So a lot of technology or equipments, product has been developed for shrimp farming, but most of them are related to environment. But what's missing is about the biological information. That's why we hope to fit it in, such that we can do the image enhancement and also AI technology to help you to find the shrimp activity, growth, feeding, health, and also about the feeding practice as well. So that's our mission, that we believe that with both the environmental information and the biological information that we are bringing in, such that you have a complete system information. And based on the complete system information, you can make a reasonable, smart choices. So technologically, so we began to develop underwater camera observation devices. So we can do 24-hour live video streaming. And then we send it to either the cloud or the edge for the AI computing. So you can conduct all sort of shrimp and or the environment, the feed analysis, such that you will have a console, the cloud console, and so you can do the management to build also this kind of trend analysis for you to do the smart management. Therefore, I think that's what we are promoting, that here is our underwater camera together with other aquaculture equipment that are networkable, and then we connect through the network and then to the cloud, to our AI server, and do those sort of computation, and also send up the warning and the control, such that you have a centralized console who knows everything here, biological, environmental information, and the equipment status, and then you can make a decision to control the equipments. So this will make this control cycle complete. Observation, decision, actions. Observation, decision, actions. It sounds straightforward, but nowadays difficult. The most difficult thing for aquaculture actually is observation. So you're kind of control based on your guessing. So now we make this control cycle complete. And also we are working on making the AI smaller to the edge computing. So we also have a partner to collaborate with us for this effort. So our first mission is to observe shrimp where they are. So they are in the pond. That really looks very cozy. That instead of just the traditional practice, you need to call them out, catch them out, so they become very nervous, right? But now they are very cozy in the water. But we use the AI to measure it. So this is our current practice. A single camera will capture more than 50,000 shrimp data in a day. So that will bring it a lot of data. So here every day we have this data. And on the other hand, we also want to compare with the manual effort. So here we have a real practice that about 6 months of shrimp farming. And we also ask human beings, our researchers, to measure the shrimps. But in that case, you need to take it out. So that's very laborious. And also once you take it out, you cannot put it back. So that's a general practice, 30 shrimps per week. But what we can do is every day we have 50,000 measurement. So then we compare the color is the AI measurement, and the black line is the human measurement. So, and we found out that AI versus the manual measurement, the average difference is about 4.5%. I don't say error, I say a difference between human being, although it's more accurate, you measure realistically, but you only have 30 samples per week. But here we have this kind of numbers, so it's almost of this 12,000 times of data. So, but our data, is quite close. So farmers tell us that this is good enough to replace human being efforts. And once we have the length, then we need to calculate the weight. So, and then we build an AI model based on neural networks to build one, because what you can measure in the camera is the length, and then we need to translate it into the weight. So we have this AI model. So again, we compare with the human being. We find out differences is 6.3. So farmer told us that that's good enough to really for them to work on the observation and for the predictions. And with such information, then we can further to observe the production management. We can see the activities and size distribution of shrimps. So for example, this is about 1 day of, this is a pond that get a feeding every hour. So the green line is the number of observed shrimps. So we can observe the daily shrimp activities, see if it matches with your feeding. And in this case, it's matched very well. The green shrimps, the orange line is the feeding. So they are quite aligned. So that means a good management pond. On the other hand, because we measure the size of the shrimps individually, so we have we can say this kind of distribution. The horizontal is the length of the shrimps, and the vertical is their the percentage, population percentage. So we can measure that the distribution of different size groups. So as time goes by, they grow up, then this bell shape will move to the right. So in the way they move, then you can understand whether it grows uniformly or not. And if not, then something might be wrong. So it could be disease or water quality problem. So then the farmer can dig into deeper to see what's going on. And this is a real pond situation. This is a good pond, and this is a poor pond. We analyzed the population of different sizes, small, medium, large. And this is good pond. The green line and the blue line are the large size shrimps. As you can see, as time goes by, this is 6 months, their population goes higher. And the orange and gray are smaller shrimps, and you can see the population shrinks. And the critical point is that this medium size shrimps, eventually you see that it decreases. That means all the shrimps have grown to the top. So this is a normal growth, a very good pond. On the other hand, here, this pond, you can see the large shrimps, they here, their population stagnate. And on the other hand, the medium critical observation here is that the medium size here also stagnate instead of drop. That means they stop growing. So we don't need to do any biological test. Just by every day, sample it, and by just looking at that, and we see something wrong, and then we call up the farm, and they say, yes, something wrong. So we begin to make it may be possible to run your farm in the air-conditioned, very nice indoor in front of your computer, but you see something going on. Okay, and then some people working on the shrimp larva. They hope us to help them. So we have a digital microscope, and then we try to categorize the shrimp larva health analysis such that they want to identify, they want the abnormal larva. If the proportion exceeds some threshold, then they need to throw away, stop wasting time. And on the other hand, in order to cultivate the larva, they also need to grow their own microalgae, and they to control the density, and also you need to understand the types of the algae, whether it's splitting or dead or abnormal, and that represent the quality of the algae. So now this is under development. We are helping them to in the very early stage, so such that they can make a smarter decision. And then let's move to the feed detections, because that's what we do every day. So this is the feed. Shrimp come to the feed. So our AI look at this video and analyze it and identify the feed, and we put the result here. So the white area is the feed, and then we calculate the white area to the entire area. So the percentage is here. So then this become our management here. So you can see as time goes by, the feed here we put the feed, and then the shrimp comes eat it and then finish it. So and then we measure this the width, then is the consumption time. And this is the important index to for the farmers. So what we want, a healthy pond is something like this. You have a feeding, and then consume it in a reasonable time, and then the water is clean for quite a long time, and then feed again. So this is a healthy pond. And on the other hand, and there are so some. I have seen some pond that when this goes up and take a long time to going down, but I cannot show you the figure because the owner doesn't want me to show such kind of things. But that which means by observation, real time, the consumption of the feed, you know how to operate, and you know the pond condition. So this is a 3 days of feeding, and because traditionally shrimp pond usually have about 3 up to 4 feeding, and that's it. People don't want to give feeding during the evening because you don't know when you give the feed. But during evening, but if the feed is not consumed, then in the next morning you probably begin to collect dead shrimp, because if it is not consumed, then the water gets polluted and then shrimp get sick. So most of the shrimp farmers, they are very conservative in giving feed into during the evening, because they don't know whether they are consumed or not. But with AI, it knows whether it is consumed or not. So that's so if it is consumed, then go ahead, keep feeding it. But if not, stop feeding. So that's why we are giving the farmer confidence. So now you see very regular, that every hour they can give feed. And then you can see that most of the time they are consumed very well. So it's a healthy pond. And this is the situation, the snapshot of the picture, and the white point are the feed. As you can see, during this period, there's almost no feed, and that means your feed is totally consumed by the shrimps. So the water quality is relatively good. And by the way, scientists tell us that shrimp, they are very active during the evening. But practically, farmer doesn't feed shrimp during the evening because they don't know what's going on during the evening. But now we are helping farmer to manage the shrimps according to their nature. They are active. They are night animals. They eat very actively during the night. So we are making feeding during the evening possible. And then the National Fishery Research Institute help us to validate our AI. So the objective is to use AI technology to monitor shrimp growth and feeding. And then based on this observation to optimize the feeding policy. And this is conducted in this indoor kind of environment, very high density, 300 per meter square. And we are also very conservative on the water. So water exchange is only about 1 up to 2% per day. So going through 6 months, and at the end, we find out that the AI policy help you increase the productivity by 26%, improve the survival rate by 22%, and so improve the FCR by 6%. Okay, and then we go further because farmer tell us that the gut or the shrimp intestine, the situation is also very important. Because if this is a full gut, which means a healthy and well fed, because it's eating all the time, so it's full. But this one is partial, so there's some empty, which means it probably begin to become unhealthy, or it doesn't. The food is not enough, it's insufficient feed. And about this one is almost empty entire shrimps, so it's unhealthy, or this pond is severely lack of feed. So by looking at this, we can suggest to the farmer to do proper attention. So this is a real example that we are measuring, and these are the status of the gut length and fullness. So we can do a real-time tracking. And then we go further. What if the feed is not totally consumed? What if it breaks down? Or a poor management of the pond such that it becomes even mud. Therefore, our AI detect mud. And by the way, it's difficult, very challenging to differentiate feed with mud. So it took us a lot of time, about 2 years, to figure out how to differentiate them. But now we are able to identify mud, so we can categorize it for this kind of situation. It's clean, so don't worry. But if it is, you need to become cautious, pay attention to it. And if you see something like this, then it's dirty, so we will give a warning. So to guide the farmer to do the proper follow-up. And so what I have been talking about, so actually is what we call DNN AI tools. Deep neural network-based AI to help you identify the biological information from the video. So that's why we call the AI inference data about shrimp feed mud detections. And this year, we begin to develop to move upward here. That's what we call agentic AI. And nowadays, I think it's very hot around the world that combine AI with the large language model, such that a manager or farmer, when they ask questions to our AI, then the AI, this agent assistant, they will select the proper tool to go down to do the query. And then down here, we have AI collected data and also data from the water sensors. And then the product information, including data that you generate internally, and also compares others, your neighborhood or your country, or even, for example, South Asia, and then do the comparison. And then we also collect shrimp farming expert knowledges, worldwide academic papers, good practice, those knowledge here. So we have this, and then we have this agent AI. So based on the query from the manager or farmers, it go down here to do the analysis, and then it will do and then there is a large language model such that you will do the reflection and reasoning, and then give you the AI's observation and advice. Therefore, we have an AI to get you the data, and we have the AI to analyze your data and your environment information and compare your own data and with, for example, your neighbor areas or even countries, and then the worldwide knowledge such that it become your AI assistants and help you to do the proper suggestions and management. So here is a snapshot of our agentic AI web portal. Here and this button, you can click it, and this will bring up the data that our AI generate from your everyday real-time data. And then here, because in order to operate this, we make it easier for you. So we have some quick, easy or expert mode query button. So it guides you to ask for growth, uniformity, or comparison, and about predictive harvest and feed planning as well. So once you click it and you bring up the analysis, for example, this is the growth, and the area here is the variation. So this analysis helps you to evaluate whether your growth is uniform or not, which means every shrimp grow up, or just some shrimp become very big and some other shrimp become very weak. So they help you to evaluate your farming practices. And also, because we link to the expert knowledges and also the external large language model, and we build up GPT OSS model, so it will also give you advice based on the data, the trend, then what's the next step, what's the caution that you need to pay attention. And if you are curious, you can even click this button, red button. It will show you some example of the expert knowledge in our database. So showing that this is not bullshit. It's really based on something. Okay. So this is one example that I did do the query, and this is about predicting the forecast harvest. So this is growth, and this is now, and the green line says it has exceeded the target of 20 kilo per shrimps. But if your target is 25 or 30, then you will predict the possible time that you can have the harvest at this time or that time. So our technology now has been working on the east coast and southwest coast of Taiwan, and we're extensively we have farmed a type an indoor-outdoor HDPE concrete and earth, and we have been going through white shrimps and tiger shrimps, and now we are working on the shrimp larva as well. We have been doing this for quite a few years, so now I've begun other related companies begin to interact with us, including biological professional or farming industries. And also behind us, the tech companies, including infrastructure, for example, Cisco and China Telecom, and also technology research. They develop the underlying technology for us, and also commercial equipment manufacturer company will provide us the basic equipments, and also we need help promotion. And thanks, Irene is here, and Jiang Hai, they help us a lot. So we have won several awards, 2021, 2022, 23, and also the international award, PICTA award in Hong Kong. So I think in conclusion, you are welcome to visit us at booth K432, this area. It's just next to the VIP lounge. And here we will demonstrate our technology together with our partners. So I think this concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Very interesting presentation.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here. As you already know, my name is Sopharat, and also Thailand, we have nickname, just call me Bumi in the short name, yes. He mentioned that I have like 13 years experience in aquaculture and certification. So today, what the focusing about, I will talk about the Aquafeed certification, what is really important in the moment. So let me start for the quick introduction about Control Union, because my company from Control Union Thailand. So our company is established in 1920 in Rotterdam. So today we operate like more than 80 countries around the world, and we family owned. And then we also do the long term, like we think about the next generation. So we focus about the sustainable solution across the industry. And we work together with like more than 5,000 professional employees. Okay. And control union is operate across like very wide range of the sustainability and certification program. Like as you can see, our scope go far beyond aquaculture. Like we also cover with the organic, agricultural, sustainable farming, forestry, biofuel, food safety, textile, and carbon footprint. Also, we offer over 200 programs worldwide to giving the company with the one-stop solution for the certification. Okay, so let's take a look at where the aquaculture market hitting. Like by 2030, the global aquaculture market is like the project to grow from 300 billion to over 400 billion US dollars. So we can say that and its growth rate is about 5% annually. So this show like how fast aquaculture is expanding at the key source of the seafood. And also today aquaculture already provide more than half of the world seafood supply, right? You can see percent 52%. So this chat will like, because for the fishery it's kind of they're gonna reach the limit because because there is too many issue in the fishery sector. That's why now aquaculture is increasing a lot. So the most important, the customer behavior is changing. Like in European, for the example, 75 of the customer now they prefer seafood that certified for the sustainable. So that's why this demand is influencing the retailer and shaping how seafood to produce and trade. Okay. So now let's have a look at how certification is shaping like the seafood trade in the real action. This is like just the example that I bring to this presentation. For the first, the shrimp from Thailand and Vietnam. Today, ASC and BAP certified shrimp represent like 14% of the global export. For in Vietnam, the shipment to US is growing about 52% year on year. This information from June 2025. And this growth is not just the volume, but is about to show how certification is give them the opportunity. The second about the salmon from Norway and Chile. So this country is continue to dominate the premium market. Like in 2025, Norway's salmon export to Asia like increasing 34%. While in Chile remain a key supplier to support by certification to ensure that it's compliant with the EU Green Claim. And the CS due diligence directive. That's it kind of the European regulation. So here certification is like the enhancing with the feed traceability and ESG alignment with drive the premium pricing and retailer confidence. Okay. For the last one, the retailer and the market access. The number 3, between 2024 and 25, the major global retail like the Costco, Carrefour, and Aeon, they expand shelf space for the certified seafood. So that's why today like we see more than 23,000 SKU of the certified product list globally. Okay. So this presentation show how the certification enhance like every stage of the seafood supply chain. I start from feed level, like certification that ensure about the traceability input, non-IUU fish meal, and compliant with the ASC feed standard by this October. Why I read about the ASC feed? Because this now is very important and that I want to make everyone aware about the ASC feed standard. So this guarantee that the entire chain beginning with the sustainable sourcing, at the farm level, certification will drive the biosecurity and fair labor practice. so it directly reduce the disease risk and worker welfare. To moving to the processing, the certification require like the fraud-free operation and QR-based traceability, giving the retailer and consumer confidence in the product integrity. In part of the retail and the market state, the certification, they act like the opportunity to ensure that the producer can access to the EU, US, and Japan market. This is about the example. For the finance and investor, for the certified supply chain, they attract a lot of the blue finance opportunity and demonstrate that resilient to regulatory and the market. Okay. So this slide, they explain why certification is not that the label, but about the solution that align with the global regulation. It start with the okay, and by 2030, the certification will be the critical link to connecting with the ESG performance, with the regulatory compliance. For example, with the EU CS due diligence directive or EUDR and Green Deal are already requiring the company to demonstrate the responsible sourcing, labor right, and traceability. The common goal remains clear that the sustainability, labor and social responsibility, food safety, quality, and traceability. That's why certification like such as ASC, BAP, MSC, Global Gap, GMP Part, ISO 14064, SEDEC, and Fairtrade USA are becoming the future critical. So they directly align with the global ESG benchmark and also provide the opportunity in the global market. Okay. So for this slide, I just put the future trend from this year to next year, like the future trend and the disruption roadmap, like how we gonna change to 2026. Like in 2025, we entering the adoption and compliance phase. Like the ASC feed standard become the mandatory, as I mentioned earlier, in this October. Entering non-IUU fish meal and deforestation for free soil. So at the same time, the regulatory pressure is rising with the EU EUDR, CS due diligence, like the regulation from European country, and also they really focus with the forced labor. So they also see the digital pilots such the blockchain and QR traceability and AI tool along with the blue finance pilot, green bond and carbon credit supporting the sustainable aquaculture. So then it's moving to 2026, they shift to enforcement and integration, like farm will need to full ASC feed compliant. The finance and insurance provider will increasingly require verified certification as the condition for access. The digital traceability from blockchain to satellite monitor of IUU fishing will move into the mainstream. On the retailer side, the eco-label like ASC, BAP, MSC will dominate the shelf space in the supermarket. Okay. This is the trend from this year to the next year. So we go to the detail for the feed market because at the first, sustainable and low carbon feed ingredient, like there is the increasing demand for the deforestation free, low emission input, include the insect meal, algae fermentation. Regulation and consumer pressure are accelerating the shift toward traceability, eco-friendly, and raw material. For the second, is about the Aquafeed innovation. Like we are seeing the strong growth in feed for shrimp, salmon, and tilapia. So feed meal and feed oil are increasingly being replaced by the plant protein, insect meal, and microalgae. The third one about the regulatory pressure and feed safety. The EU is tightening control on the mycotoxin, GMO, and feed additive. So when we talk about the global standard, right, for the feed meal market, there are 4 key certifications that I can recommend. For the first one is for the BAP, is the best aquaculture practice. The second for the GMP plus, third one the global gap, and the finally ASC standard. So I will go the detail for the GMP plus. Like if you can see in the presentation, for the GMP plus certification in 2024 is with the 19,000 company are certified under GMP plus FSA, with covering 92 countries. And this shows how deeply feed safety excellence and had become in the global supply chain. And on the responsibility side, the GMP plus FRA certification is also expanding with more than 1,000 certified companies across like 26 countries. So this reflects like growing demand for the sustainability. In the map highlight, GMP Plus is global cover with the strong representative in Europe, Asia, and America. The next one about the ASC feed standard, like represent a major milestone in sustainable aquaculture, like the farm level certification. So this standard directly address from the beginning supply chain, like the feed mill. And I also mentioned that from November 2025, all ASC certified farms will be required to use feed that comply with the strict sustainability criteria, like to make sure that the feed sourcing ingredient is from non-IUU fishery and ensuring the soil and other crops are deforestation free. Okay. In 2025, this year, ASC feed certification is like expanding worldwide, like between January to July this year, right? 18 new feed mill with 12 countries, they achieve like certification. It mean they bring the global total about 35 certified feed mill with the 14 countries. This information from July 2025. So it's important that from this October, from next month, all ASC certified farm, they must exclusively use ASC compliant feed to maintain their certification. Additionally, ASC also announced that the new farm standard will already launched in last quarter 2 2025 with 2-year transition period until May 2027. This alignment between feed and farm standard is designed to enhance the traceability, reduce risks to ensure that long-term compliance across with the aquaculture. The next one about the global gap standard. I will talk about the global gap compound feed manufacturing, or CFM, because it's now recognized as one of the most important global standards for feed mill. It covers every step of the feed production, from the sourcing material, production and processing, all the way through the distribution. This means like feed mill certified under CFM must demonstrate the sustainability, safety, and traceability in their operation. And this is the map highlight is like truly to make you understand that in which country that they certify with the global gap CFM, like from North and South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. So the adoption reflects that is growing demand from the regulator, retailer, and consumer for the transparent, sustainable, and deforestation-free feed production. Okay. And the last one is about the best aquaculture practice or BAP. Because for the BAP is the unique, like, because it's only third-party aquaculture certification that they cover the entire of supply chain from feed mill, hatchery, farm, and all the way to the processing plant. So this slide, it highlights why BAP is considered that the most comprehensive certification in aquaculture. You will see today BAP cover more than 300 hatchery and more than 2,000 farm and more than 150 feed mill and 490 plant worldwide. So in the conclusion, I can present about the global aquaculture seafood certification landscape. Like for the ASC, it's focused on the feed, farm, and the processing certification. And for the BAP, as I mentioned already, that there is focus from the supply chain, for the whole supply chain. And for the MSC, it's global gold standard for the wild fishery. It's highlight the recognized in the premium market like Europe, Japan, and USA. And for the global gap size, it's ensure about the feed safety and sustainability across the livestock and aquaculture. The last one for the GMP part, we had over 90,000 certified company in worldwide. Okay. So we have seen how certification support every step of the supply chain, especially for the feed standard certification. So this will be my last slide that about the conclusion. Anyone have any question?
Sawadee krap. My name is Sean from U.S. Soybean Export Council. Basically, in most of the aquaculture market, we see the BAP, ASC, and also global get as represented to the different market regions so far.
Yes.
Yeah, and do you think that there's any opportunity they can really merge in some of the requirement and the code, because basically everyone have some way somehow similar in using, for example, the sustainable feed ingredients and the practice of the labor, career, welfare,
Yes.
all that. But we starting finding that more and more certification comes out, but actually everybody talk about the same thing. So of course, I'm not stand for any of those
Yes.
organization on that. But based on as the auditor, you look at all that. Do you think that there's a chance to be able to merging those to be one of the kind of the unified one, and then the rest of the each of it is some other special requirement? Thank you.
Okay.
ขอบคุณครับ
Yeah, thank you for your question. If don't understand about your question, you want to know if possibility with those four standard they can combine, right?
In some way.
In some way. I don't think so. Because I think everyone know that each standard they come from the different company, a scheme owner. I can say that the scheme owner, they come from the different scheme owner, and also the target is also different. Like for the even they have the core criteria, it's almost the same, like labor, environment, and sustainable ingredient sourcing, something like that. But in terms of the combine for the it's not possible. Yes.
Right. Well, actually, I have a questions to her. Because I visit so many feed mill every month, every year, and I see that ASC is getting to be a more like the market trend, especially for Southeast Asia. Did you also see that trend of, applying ASC certificate, and why? That
You mean
it's not new.
you mean about ASC feed, right? Yeah, because as I mentioned that in European, especially in European country, they like demanding a lot about the ASC certified seafood, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and also for the ASC farm in Asia, they also like try to reach with the sustainability standard, right? So that's why nowadays it's quite how to say increasing. It's quite increasing for the ASC certified, and also it will be linked with the ASC feed.
Yeah. But BAP other certificate, they are the same.
Yes, for the BAP, I cannot say that it's like increasing or reducing because now I think everyone know we also have issue with the US like Trump's. Yes, so I'm not really sure.
It's okay. I'm not just
Yes.
just try to get to know why. Must be a reason behind, because those certificate is not new. Is everybody knows that?
Yes.
But I see the increasing trend of applying ASC in Southeast Asian country. I just want to understand why. There must be a reason behind first. Second, I have a lot of feedbacks to ASC. Although they have to apply, they're urgent to get it. But two comments. First, it's extremely costly. It's very costly. Second, it's very difficult to reach that standard in the scale of what female have. Some practical reasons.
Yeah.
I can't list down, but a lot of practical questions that it's So what my question is basically, what do you see the biggest challenge of ASC to the feed mill, especially in Southeast Asia?
Yes, I also work with many feed mill in Asia, right? There is a lot of the challenging, especially about the ingredient, the sourcing ingredient is really difficult to comply with the ASC feed.
Correct.
Yes,
correct.
and also because it's not that you buy with the compliant supplier, but you have to go to the supplier and verify and do the kind of the due diligence report, something like that, to make sure that they are your supplier from the primary producer, from the primary sourcing, they comply with the legal, environment, and labor, everything. It's not your factory. It's not just your factory, but also from the primary ingredients. Yes.
Right,
so it's very challenging for them, and also, with the supplier at the moment that comply with everything with the ASC, it's also high cost. Yes, so it's also difficult. Even many feed company in Thailand, they also stuck with that challenge,
So you also
that
see
issue.
that big challenge.
Yes. Okay.
But I also heard, maybe it's not true, but maybe you're here, you can try to confirm.
Yes.
I heard that there is a kind of light version that's coming up. Light version, meaning it's not that so difficult, but it's ASC light version. But I'm not sure it's true or it's
You
coming
mean
soon, or-
some flexible version?
Yeah. I don't know.
Actually, nowadays still strict with the current version.
All right. Okay.
Yes. So, but maybe with the feedback from the producer or from the feed mill company, even with all stakeholder, from your feedback will be very important. Because many shrimp farm, they also ask me how they can comply in this October. Because for the AC farm, it's kind of the mandatory that you need to comply.
Urgency.
You need to buy the ASC feed and use it in your farm in this October.
Jenny have some comments. you.
She's meeting next time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think especially in Malaysia there's no any AC feed certified, so it's mean like you need to import from other country. I also have the client in Singapore, other country that they're really stuck to looking for the feed mill, and when they import from other, like the cost is quite high, and then they stop for the certification. Yes.
Jenny is actually one of our speakers. Is actually her client. So she made a lot of efforts trying to reach that certifications. Now she has also had her little challenges. So
Yes.
maybe later on we can also hear from different sides.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But thanks a lot.
Yes,
Thanks
thank
a lot.
you so much. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jenny. 大家早安. I'll speak in English, but please feel free to ask me more questions after. I can answer in Chinese as well. So as Roger just mentioned, my background is actually in chemical engineering. So I know nothing about shrimp farming when I started 13 years ago. So our company is Sankina Aquaculture. In Chinese, it's 善情水产. We're based in Malaysia, Sabah, Taiwan. It's a very small place. If you know about diving, if you've heard of Semporna, that's where we are. You'll fly to an airport called Taiwan Airport. It's a small farm, and we run a farm, a processing plant, and we do export. So we're currently selling to Taiwan, Singapore, Japan, Korea, China as well. Not so much this year for China, but so today I'm going to share a bit about smart shrimp farming. Our idea in Sankina Aquaculture, I'm very happy to see that in the room today we have all the global leaders, industrial leaders here from various different industries. So in Sankina, we do a lot of different things. Our approach is slightly different from conventional farming. So in the background here, what you can see, this very blue picture, is actually our farm. It's a traditional farm setting. So it's earthen pond. We're doing traditional culture, but not so traditional way. So I'll share some about our technologies, our commitment to green energy and community, how to build community equity. That's the part where we work with different partners and how to build up the whole, the chain, because we're certified for sustainable aquaculture. And for us, that means environment, that means economically feasible to be able to sustain, as well as how we can do the governance, the social part, how we commit to our stakeholders. So in the global context, Ms. Bumi just shared a bit just now. So for seafood from aquaculture, we make up about 60%, and the market value is about 330 billion and increasing. So that sounds like a great thing for shrimp farming, because we are growing annually at 6 to 7%, the demand. But also with the growth, it brings us challenges and responsibility, because our consumers are asking where the shrimps are coming from. So because we are processing plant, so I do face customers as well. And so their question to us are, what's on the label, the product label, what's written behind, what are we putting in? Our investors are asking if this industry is sustainable. So with the global challenges, the environmental, the climate change, the viruses in the farm, as well as the pricing from South America, the price dumps, the tax tariffs, everything. So how do we sustain this business? And our communities are asking, what we do in aquaculture, is it safe? Are we going to pollute the environment and all that? And the young generation. So this is interesting for me, because I have young employees, Gen Z, I think Gen Alpha not yet, but Gen Z. They would come to work with us, and they would say they get bored at work. So because we're traditional farm, so they would learn what to do in maybe 2 days, and they would be tired of it. They don't want to be out under sun. So how can we help with that? So what's interesting for me was I put all my young staff to develop AI, to work on technologies. So they find joy in doing that because it's fun for them. And my assignment for them was to make shrimp farming fun. So they have to come up with ideas how to make it fun. But of course, it has to make sense. So our complete vision is to incorporate technology. We do a bit of AI, not a lot. I mean, we're not an AI company or a shrimp company. So we work with AI companies that help us develop shrimp farming protocols and tools. We are currently using probiotics. So in our farm, we do shrimp farming we work on the soil first. We do complete probiotic treatment. So all of our shrimps do not have antibiotics. They don't have heavy metals. So we do a lot of probiotics. So we start working with the soil, and then we work with the water, then the shrimp. So all of that, we do a lot of probiotic treatment. But finding the right probiotic is important for us. And so we are using AI to help us with that. We also do a bit of renewable energy. It's not 100% replaced yet. Currently about 35%, which I'll talk about it later. The environmental regeneration part is about the mangrove part for sustainability and the community equity, which is the most important equity that I think for any chain, any industry should focus on. So how can technology help us in smart farming? Because this is a SMART Aquaculture Conference. So I'm sharing some things that we face in farming. Of course, in processing, we have different set of challenges. But in farming, we have labor efficiency problems with not enough labor. I think everywhere around the world, we face the same issue. So how AI can help? Here's an example of what we're doing. I'll share later. And then how we do with disease prevention with the AI precision probiotic. We have our in-house laboratory where we analyze the shrimp health. We check them, screen them in the conventional way with a laboratory, and we hire scientists to do that. But how to make it more efficient and how to make it faster is something that we are working on. And cost control, I think this is very important for any industry. As business owners, you would be looking at financial models, how to cost saving. So in farm, the most critical thing is your feed. So we would be controlling feed, and how do we optimize that through AI? And also the water optimization part, I just mentioned we treat water. So we do use nanobubble technology, or in other words, ultra-fine bubble. So I'll share a bit about that later. So this is conventional fry counting. So conventionally, I would have fry delivered from hatchery to our farm. And my workers would scoop up a bucket of these fries. It's about 1 liter. I would have to employ 2 staff to count for 1 hour, scoop by scoop. Right, conventional way, to verify how much of shrimp we are stocking in, how many dead shrimps, so on and so forth, and also to verify the quality of the shrimp. So this takes about 1 hour and 2 or more, depending on how many ponds we're stocking. So if I'm stocking more than 5 ponds a day, then I would have many workers counting fries all day, and it might delay our stocking process. But here, with our new AI-assisted program, this is on phone. So in the app, this is, of course, there's some margin of error, but we will allow for that because with the human counting, it's the same. You would be counting and then you would lost count. After 10,000, 20,000 fries, you probably lose count. So with this, you just take a picture with your phone, and the AI camera would analyze the fry. Really quick count in this amount of water, this amount of fry, how many pieces they are, 1,648 pieces. And it would give a standard deviation on the variance of sizes. So it tells us the uniformity of the shrimp. So that actually affects the farming, how well we farm, because the more uniform you stock, they will grow up more evenly. Another thing is, I think Professor Huang just now mentioned regarding shrimp health, how typically we would assess the fries healthy or not. We would be looking at the hepato and the intestine of the fry. So even though they're very tiny, but you can still observe and see whether or not they have full gut, meaning they have been fed well, or if they have a very collapsed gut system, that means they're not so healthy. So in this, they will count and tell us how many percent is healthy, how many percent is not. And it gives us uniformity, the variation of sizes, and average size in grams. So typically, this traditional counting takes up to half day. My stocking process, I would be chasing my staff and saying, how's the fry stocking? Can I pay my supplier? But with this, is 1 minute plus 4 minutes of coffee time in the office, and they will send it to me via the phone and tell me, okay, this is good to go. We can stock this. It's 95% healthy, 5% dead shrimp, or we can reject it on the spot. So this helps us prevent, not stocking the good shrimp, the bad fry into the pond, prevent us from losing. So another thing that we focus on is the AI precision probiotic. So what we do is we take a sample from the pond. Our idea with probiotics, of course, I understand that there are many different probiotics out in the market. There are different purposes for each different probiotics. There's bacillus, there's the photosynthetic bacteria, there's many, many kinds for different purposes, for the water, for nitrogen, for intestine, all those things. But we would take a sample of the water that is presently in the pond in your area, and we would select the strain. It's going to be compared across our 5,000, our data, back-end data, and we identify what strains of the bacteria or viruses or toxic algae or Vibrio, for example, whichever that is of concern for aquaculture. And we will cross-check that data, and we will match it with the right probiotic program so that when you dose, you are dosing the right probiotic into the pond. This is something that we have been working on. And once we design the formula, of course, we put it into the pond for testing for the grow out. But it doesn't take one time to get it right, because we need to monitor the whole environment. So at least 2 trials to run through and to make it right. But even with first 2 trials, we are seeing very good results because they can effectively decrease the ammonia and nitrogen, and they can increase our white shrimp growth rate and feed conversion rate, as well as our disease is much reduced. So this is an example of what our intelligence report looked like. This is all the bacteria species that we come across in the pond naturally. This is in my pond, A5. This is our farm in the back, but this is the A5 pond in this farm. This is what it looks like with all the bacteria, the viruses, Vibrio of concern. So we will match it against with the right probiotic, and then we'll put it back into your pond, which is customized to that pond particularly. So in easier terms, it's like when you go for body check, you get your blood drawn. They tell you, oh, your blood sugar is a bit high, so you would take something to regulate that. So this is how we are checking for our pond water, and then we come up with the right probiotics so we don't waste time testing on different commercial products and then trying to say, okay, it might work. Let me try it here. Because every farm is different, every location has different salinity, different pressure, different temperature, all that fluctuations. So This is results from Sankina Farm. We have run across about 8 trials now, 8 different cycles already. Each trial we run 3 ponds for testing. So on average, what we see, the gray ones are the survival rates, and the blue ones are the average sizes. Keep in mind this is a SPR strain, which is a resistant strain. It's meant to grow a bit slower for Vaname shrimp, and it's in earthen pond, so it's not as fast as the liner ponds. The result for us is quite pleasing. The baseline control, which is just our nothing done, the survival rate is at about 60+%. And with the normal commercial probiotics, because we have been in the industry for quite some time, so we know what to put for the soil, the water, and the guts. So these are commercial products that we buy and we put it into the pond. So they have shown increase of up until this is about 75% on average. But with the AI customized probiotics, we are seeing on average 85 to 88% survival. And with the AI customized probiotics, we are seeing at 88 days, 24 grams average, while the control is at about 16 to 17 grams. So why is it 16 to 17 grams? It's because it's affected by EHP, so a bit slow growth. No major breakout of other diseases, but only EHP, which is a slow growth disease for shrimp. So for feed optimization, which I mentioned earlier about cost controlling, this is what our traditional farming, this is my worker, Noel, feeding in the farm. So this is what he's doing, feeding. And then we later on add on auto feeder for more efficient feeding because there wasn't enough labor. But how do we control the cost of these without sending all my laborers to run for the paddle wheels, run for the water pumps? We are connecting them to AIoT. So this is our, we're using an app to control. So at, like Professor Huang just mentioned, sitting in the office, you can just click on your tablet, and they would control your air blower, your paddle wheels, your pumps in the pond. But what's interesting is we are still testing this module. And this is what we call the load cell for the auto feeder. So it's a different mechanism from what Professor Huang was doing just now with the camera. We are doing a load cell on the auto feeder. And so it assesses how fast the feed is finished, assuming on the feeding tray. So once they lighten up, you will see that the weight would drop, and then the auto feeder would feed again, and then the weight would come down again once it's finished. So by that, if the feed doesn't come down, that means there's still feed remaining on the tray. We will stop the auto feeding because it will not trigger the sensor. So by that, we can control the cost of the feed, which is most effective control for shrimp farming costs. And the rest would be controlling the paddle wheels, the water pumps, and how to regulate that. So we are incorporating this. We're looking to incorporate this with financial models. So we will plug in numbers financially. So how much of the electric costs, how much of everything. So at the back end, ultimately what we want from this module is to show that when is the best time to harvest. When is the best time to make decision and say, okay, this feed is no longer efficient and we want to harvest now. So it will prompt the farmer to harvest on the spot. So this is something we're still currently working on with the financial module behind. Nanobubble technology, this is a technology that we source from Japan, and it's using very fine bubbles, less than 50 nanometer. Because the size of the bubble is so small, it will stay under water for a very long time, at least half a year if left undisturbed. So this was used for water treatment, actually. So at first when we started looking at shrimp farming, we were looking how to make really clean water. But these nanobubbles, unfortunately, when we tried it in our earthen pond, they were too clean. So in Chinese, there's a saying, if the water is too clean, there will be no fish. So we didn't have any good results from the water being too clean because it killed all the algae, all the planktons, everything. But we are using this as our reservoir now because we do want the reservoir to be very, very clean without doing any treatment, any chemicals. And we are topping that water into our farming pond, so it's an add-on, which is enriched with dissolved oxygen because the fine bubbles are oxygen, pure oxygen. So by doing that, because the oxygen bubble stays underneath water, so when we pump them into our actual culture pond, they will sink as well because they are so tiny. And the DO is increased, so we are able to achieve a very stable DO day and night in farm outside at about 5 to 6 daytime, 5 is at nighttime and 6 in the morning. The energy consumption also is much reduced because, as you know, pedal wheels are only used for the water circulation. It doesn't really promote increase of oxygen. But with this, we were able to increase oxygen without adding more blowers or root blowers in the earthen pond, which stirs up everything. And the bacteria reduction is much lower. So in terms of green energy and carbon reduction, so I wanted to share an idea. In Sankina, we do believe in sustainable farming, which means we kind of have to do our job in preserving the environment. So this part where we have the solar panel, it takes up, we were able to replace up to about 35% of our electricity costs. And it helps reduce the CO2. So now everybody is talking about ESG. We're working with customers who are looking at those aspects. So these are great ways to reduce carbon dioxide emission. And we do a lot of mangrove restoration in Sankina Aquaculture Farm. Since 2010, we were able to allow a regrowth of 1 kilometer and up to 200-meter thickness from shore. So this is a picture of shorebirds flying through our mangrove areas. Let me show you this. So this is what our farm looks like. In 2005, this was before we take over the farm. And you can see we have no trees, no mangrove trees here. And we're not so sure where our boundary is because half of it is taken by the ocean with the soil erosion and everything. But by 2024, this is 4 years after Sankina bought over the farm, you are able to see some regrowth of mangrove. And by 2025 June, you are able to see that this beautiful lush green area is the mangrove forest. I call it a forest because this year in April, I was called up by a bird watching society, and he asked for permission to come to our farm for some photo shoot. So he was showing me that, you know, these shorebirds were flying past our farm. 179 of them, 179 species, sorry, of them are flying past our farm. That's an amazing number to be observed in this mangrove forest. But these shorebirds, they don't stay. They're just flying past because they fly from Alaska all the way down to China, Malaysia, and then Australia, and then they fly backwards. So what we see in this is a almost endangered species. It's called Javan plover. It's a first sighting in Malaysia, and they told us it's a first in Malaysia, and we're very happy to hear that this mangrove reserve was able to bring back some endangered species. So personally, I actually am very proud of this mangrove forest because not only were we able to prevent soil erosion for company purpose, but we are able to see that, you know, with this mangrove, it does filter the water better. and it has multi-functions, prevention of tsunami, for example. It uplifts the soil, so we are very safe in terms of flooding. There's no flooding so far. And there's no, it doesn't harm the farm. In a way, it creates a good barrier. So this is what Sankina Farm has evolved since 10, 15 years ago. In terms of community equity, we think that every stakeholder is very important to us. That means our worker, our the NGO, the government, our suppliers, everybody in the industry, the feed mill, the probiotic company, the certification units, our buyers. We offer a fair pricing to all of our partner farms who support these sustainable acts, and we give them 5% as a reward for supporting this, doing this sustainable practice, and joining us. And we are in compliance with all the labor requirements. That means, yes, it is very costly to do ASC certification because we have to comply to Europe standards. But in a way, I think it is very good for the industry because our staff, they are trained, they're very well educated. And we also lead the training and education to the local community. So this is an event that we did with the local university students and government officials to plant mangrove. And we are starting a community lab this year for knowledge sharing on our lab practices and how we're doing the AI tools and how to link the whole community together. And we do welcome all industry people, whoever has interest in these type of connection and community projects can join us, and we can share knowledge together, because I do see the community lab can grow in various ways, linking all the farmers, the industrial players together. So yes, I think since I talked some part about smart farming, it's not only just technology, but to us, it's more for about the respect for nature, for people, and for the future. And we do think that ocean is regenerable. Yes, thank you so much.
Espen Johnson, thank you. Very nice story. One question, and tying it back to the. Sorry?
Yourself. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Espen Johnson. I'm with Singapore RAS, and found this very interesting. And also tying it back to the previous certification presentation, you said that all your staff becomes very educated. Is that then, how is then the turnover of staff? Is that a good thing, they want to stay because there is a good community? Or is that a threat because others would like to poach your staff?
Okay, so the turnover rate, thank you, Epson. The turnover rate in Sankina Aquaculture is actually very, very low. I think in the past 2 years, I think only less than 5 employees left us, and they were either transferring out of the town, going for further studies, or they had, moved on for their life commitment or further things. So in a way, I think what Sankina is building is like a community culture. So our staff, they not only continue learning, because the training is not only done one time, it's done almost quarterly. They have to be trained for something new, and they find themselves useful for, they're good at their job, so they find the sense of satisfaction in their job, and they are able to commit to the company. For other companies poaching us, so far I don't think we have been poached. I hope not. Yeah, but very luckily our staff have been with us for a very, very long time. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Joe McDonald from Varicon. It was interesting to see you changing the counting method, and you either accept or reject them at the farm. If I may ask, do you insist that the supplier does that in advance before they ship to you, and then you're just checking to validate their analysis? Is that what you're doing or not?
Thank you, Joe. So, traditionally, most farmers, what the practice in Malaysia, at least from what I know, is they trust the hatchery 100%. If the hatchery says they are tested SPF, they are tested virus-free, the farmers would just accept whatever they deliver to them, and then just stock and release. So we have came from there too, and we have suffered from that quite a lot actually. And so we are working, of course we have to validate the methods ourselves first. And now we're working with hatcheries. We are trying to convince them to work with us so that we can put that machine at their hatchery so they can assess that for other farmers as well. Yeah, because I think if, say for example, I ordered 500,000 pieces of fry, and my program, my probiotic or whatever I count, or the feed that I prepared is for 500,000 pieces of fry, but they delivered for some reason 800,000 of fry to make the survival look good or whatever, it messes up the whole mass balance in the pond, and we don't want that. So we would work with hatchery. We're very open. So if it's not good, we will try to give them chance and improve, and then we will order again and see the results. Yeah. So we are working with the hatcheries.
So is the resistance from them that they're afraid that they won't be supplying the best quality, or because it makes no sense to me that you and they have this potential cost burden because nobody's biting the bullet? Because we spoke a lot about quality in the previous. So
Yes.
it's very much about defining the quality criteria, and that's the standard that you apply to buying at that point rather than when it arrives on the farm.
Yes. So this is more towards a biosecurity problem rather than, of course, sustainability is part of it. But I think it's our company's standard, and we don't try to force it on other people. I mean, like if they're not happy to do this, it's okay. We can just count, but we will tell them, we're looking to receive healthy fries so that at least when we stock, we can guarantee an 85% above survival rate, because whatever investment we put into the farming, we hope that it comes back in profit margin rather than just putting in and hoping for loss, right? So what we do with the technology, I think, is trying to help us eliminate the risk of losing. Losing, but at the same time, there is like a fine balance to that. So with these standards that we practice, it's not required, I think, by the sustainability part, but they do require us to count, how much did we stock, and to verify that we received this much. So how do we help that in terms of the stocking part, right? Which is the most crucial part of the farming, the start of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a partnership, so I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. Is your reticence to force your standards on them because you have a limited supply chain, or because you have a long-standing relationship?
We have a long-standing relationship as well, but I think most of the business owners out there, when we explain to them, like truthfully, genuinely, what we intend to do, we're not trying to bring down anybody's business,
Sure.
but we are trying to help this industry be sustainable in a way. So like for example, the hardest part in ASC certification is the feed mill, right? And for us as farmer, when we went on and knock on the doors of the feed mills and say, hi, can you open up your recipe and tell me where you get all your fish meal supply? How many % of this, how many % of that? Have you tested this? Have you tested that? Show us all your reports. It was very, very hard. I have asked more than 10 feed suppliers. Only a few were able to, supply to us. their information, but incomplete. So we were down with very limited choices. But still, we worked with a few feed mills that were understanding. Like we tried to explain what we were trying to do, and they understand, their top management understand. So we were able to communicate on that level, and we slowly moved forward with our partners.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I just put a little bit comments because Jenny, her farm, right, is actually located in Sabah. It's quite, it's not it's not, it's
very remote.
It's a remote area, limited resources. So that's why how she did is actually to bring people together, help each other. It's the only way to do it. But it's also bring values and positive, not only for business. I think she's trying to build certain community that she could manage, because if you don't have volume, basically, you know, ASC, whatever, how you could negotiate with the buyer in the end. So it's a volume business as well. But yeah, but just small questions to Jenny. How do you look at ASC certification, the value bring back to you, and when you look at those certifications, some is very costly, some is very difficult to reach that level. But you, as a farm processing plant, you do export. How do you look at these certifications?
Right. So from how we started ASC, we actually didn't start as ASC because when I was appointed to take over the farm, my only command from my boss was, don't produce something that you don't dare to eat. So that's the only thing that I get, my only advice. So I was thinking along the line, okay, once I get the shrimp farmed culture, where should I sell it? I have to package the product, right? It's a normal business sense. How do you package your product? So at that time, I remember that was 10, 15 years ago, the trend was organic. In food, it's like clothing, you have trends. So 10, 15 years ago, organic was very popular. Unfortunately, we couldn't get organic certified because of the feed. But we were able to look into green farming. So that's the next trend, organic and then green farming. So we started along the line with the probiotics. And then for ASC, that certification come later, because when we started practicing all that, we noticed that, this is in line with what we are doing. The ASC certification brings value to us because it gives governance to my staff. I studied abroad, so for me, it's very common to have everything in SOP. Especially, I come from a lab background, so I'm used to having SOPs. I'm used to having set guidelines and everything. But when you work with staffs, when you work with the Southeast Asian community, sometimes, especially in farm, a lot of my staff, they don't know a word. They might not even read. So that's the level of workers that I'm working with. So we have to simplify the language so that it is understandable for them, so that it's very robust and they can do their job while fitting to our needs, right? So I think ASC, in a way, yes, it's very challenging, and actually Seth here was the first person to help us did the gap analysis in our farm. And we had a huge gap to close when we first started assessing for ASC. It was very hard to meet. But we slowly worked one by one. We were working with WWF, and yes, it's very costly. So I had to, convince my bosses, we had sponsorship from potential clients that was in Singapore, 5-star hotel. They were sponsoring for the project so that we can continue going for this certification. And in a way, ASC bring value to not only helping our staff be more, they are following the guidelines strictly, and it makes our job easier actually, because they will report to you following the standards. So you wouldn't have, in the middle of night suddenly, oh, something happened, and then you have to go to the farm. So, and on top of that, although it wasn't what we thought, the premium pricing everybody's been talking about, because globally, economically, it's not at that level. But my customers who buy from us, they are very consistent buyers. They understand the work that we do, the consistent effort that we put in. And so they are willing to pay. So they rarely bargain with us. I shouldn't say this. Yeah, but they're very consistent buyers, yes. So that's the advantage that I think ASC has brought to us. And I think a lot of the farmers should be valued for their input of effort, because a lot of farmers actually are out there and doing a lot of great things, and they should be rewarded for that. They just need it on the paper and something to show to the buyer so that it's traceable, sustainable, and it can be proven over and over again. Yeah.
Today, her shrimp is actually already exported to Korea, to Japan, and I think since last year, Jenny started to export her shrimp from Malaysia to Taiwan. I see a few containers already in Taiwan. So congratulations to her.
Thank you.
You can deliver the microphone to you.
Okay. We're a feed mill in the Philippines, and we try to attain a certain degree of excellence in quality, because we're a very small feed mill compared to the others, and we happen to also stumble upon a processing plant that had previous Japanese clientele. So in a way, in the last 10 years, we were kind of moving towards the integration that I think you've accomplished. I cannot seem to imagine a buyer who's willing to give me the premium that will pay for all these efforts in my good farming practice, in my certification of my feed. We're the only feed manufacturer in the Philippines that's ISO certified, but that's as far as we got. So could you give me a clue of the volume that you are doing annually, and the price premium that seems to be necessary to pay for all of this quality, or certified quality?
Right. So thank you for the question. Actually, we are a small farm. We're not the biggest in Malaysia. We're very far from biggest, but we are the first ASC certified farm again in Malaysia. And it is costly. And the premium pricing, what I can say, we were hoping that there would be a huge gap so that it rewards for those who are pioneering in this status. But unfortunately, the market doesn't pay for that. But don't lose hope, there are people out there who value for this kind of work, and they would pay for it, trust me. People value for you taking care of every ingredients and every step of the way. The pricing level per kilos of shrimp, if I assume that you would have the information, is we get about 60 to 80 cents US dollars premium per kilo in the shrimp price. And the other thing that I just want to mention is we are a small processing factory, so we do about 5 to 6 containers from our own shrimp alone. But we are not only doing shrimp, we have helping to OEM, because it has to sustain, the module has to sustain. So we do other things as well, but we have about 5 to 6 containers exporting each month.
So, and the reason that we'd like to sort of probe deeper with your company is the one who's running our operation is my daughter, who's probably your age and probably has the same background as you, from somewhere abroad. Okay, thank you.
Sure, I will look forward to exchange info with her. Thank you.
Grow out management, and also the disease management, environment management, processing and marketing, and also the Aquafeed. Sorry, the Aquafeed is bigger. Not because my job is for Aquafeed. This is because the Aquafeed usually in the world is the big, huge company such as CP in Thailand, Cargill in American, or some very big company. So in the world, the aquaculture industry is led by the Aquafeed company. So Aquafeed company may lead the aquaculture develop. This is the OTAC Agri-Food outlook. So we can see in the last year, the aquafeed production in the world is about 53 million metric tons. Just only 3.8% of the total feed production. However, when we see this figure, we can see if we calculate the average feed conversion rate for fish, it's about 1.1, but for poultry, pig or beef, it's 1.7 to 6.8. So the fish owns the best feed conversion rate. However, if we look into other parameters, we can see here the protein retention is only about 24%. It means in fish feed we required many high amount of protein to be the energy source for fish. So fish just protein retention just only about 24%. So the cost of the fish feed is really higher than poultry or other animals' feed. Before we talk about my today's talk, before that I would like to introduce the pyramid principle for aquafeeds. So we can understand for the basic level is nutrition and processing. So for us, for scientists, we looking for the adequate nutrient requirement for fish, and we produce the quality feed for fish. So in this level, we consider the fish requirement, but not for other animals such as human or others. And the second one is economy. It's for industry. So we concern the feed utilization, feed cost, and we looking for the high overall performance. And the third level is the food quality. It's for consumer. So we concern the fish or shrimp, the fillet color, texture, flavor, safety, and the nutritional values. And the top of the pyramid is the social responsibility. So we're talking about the food supply chain, dependence of marine resources, the water pollution, the waste cycling for all the social. So based on this principle, we prepare the aqua feed not only for fish, just only we must to think about what impact for human and for all social. So today I would like to talk about the key issues for sustainability in aqua feeds. The first one is marine resource. This is the key issue in I think in aqua feed because we use too much fish meal in the aqua feed. So how to reduce the aqua feed, fish meal and to reduce the dependence of marine resources. The second one is One Health issue. As we know, the One Health means human health, environment health, and also the animal health. So in the past, we talk about animal health in aqua feed. However, if we change the aqua feed, it may change the human food quality and also impact on the environments. So here I would like to talk about the One Health issue and how we can do by the aqua feeds. And the third is the agricultural waste by product recycling. In past 10 years, our team in our university, we're working for to use some agricultural waste, especially the local agriculture in Pingdong. So we use the agricultural waste or byproduct to produce the feed additive or feed ingredient to improve animal production and animal maybe health. So the first one issue, as we know, the fish meal is the, I think is the best, but also the highest cost, because they contains ideal amino acid profile. They contain the omega-3 fatty acids and also some trace minerals that is required for fish. However, the challenge for fish meal and also for fish oil is their production, because the world capture fisheries actually become the stable, not increased. So their production is limited and the cost is high. And the sustainable issue such as SDGs 14, life below water. So we have to reduce the dependence of the marine resources. This figure shows the fish meal and the fish oil used in aquaculture industry. So we can see here, since 1960 and to 221, so about 87% of fish meal was used in aquaculture industry, and others may be used in petri food or in pig feed. And fish oil is about 74% used in aquaculture industry, and some for pet food and also for human use. But here we can see almost fish meal and fish oil were largely used in Aquafeed. And here show the fish in and the fish out ratio. This ratio is talking about if we produce seafood, how many captured fishes we use in their feeds. So this ratio is calculated by the fish meal or fish oil that produced by the natural wild capture fish, and calculated with the feed conversion rate. So here we can see the crustacean in 2000 is 1.39. It means if we produce 1 kilogram crustacean, we have to use 1.39 kilogram wild catch fish. So to 2020, the ratio is reduced to 0.43. But for some species I mark in blue, like a shrimp, 0.84, marine fish, 0.74, salmonid, 1, and Atlantic salmon is 1.02, and the eel is 1.30, and the turtles and frog. So some species still use many marine resources in their feed. So this is the work we how to reduce the dependence, the wild capture fish. So here I will show a case for soybean meal. Soybean meal is widely used. Maybe later Sean will talk about. No? Okay, sorry. Yeah. The soybean meal, I in my past research is about 10 years. I work for this feed plant feedstuff, but we found many problems, especially their nutritional problems, that will cause very weak but not strong influence. But if we rear the fish for a long time, that will cause many, maybe some disease or some depression of growth. So we analyzed their nutritional composition. We found there are many anti-nutritional factors such as fatty acid, saponin, trypsin inhibitor, cholesterol, and allergenic protein, such as glycine or conglycine, and the imbalanced nutrition, such as their first and second limiting amino acid, methionine and lysine, essential fatty acids, cholesterol, nucleotides, taurine, and carnitine. So in our past research, we found if we used too much, too high soybean meal to replace fish meal, they cause poor growth, entities, inflammation in liver, and oxidative stress in liver and also in muscle, the poor digestibility, and the high visceral fat such as this, and the reduction in immunity, and also abnormal metabolism. So our past research, we demonstrate if we use too much soybean meal, that causes some impact for the fish. So we analyze, we compare the fish by using the next generation sequencing. So we compare the grouper is a marine fish. We use all fish meal feed, and we use high the soybean meal diet to feed the fish for 8 weeks. So the results we can find the metabolic pathway was influenced, such as cholesterol metabolism and steroid biosynthesis, PPAR signal pathway. This is pathway will influence the lipid metabolism, the pancreatic excretion, protein digestion absorption, fat digestion absorption, and the primary bile salt biosynthesis. So for this pathway, we have a further study to demonstrate. So in our study, we demonstrate the cholesterol deficiency may cause the cholesterol accumulation in liver, and then increase the lipogenesis, and so the liver will accumulate too much lipid, so we call that the fatty liver. And also the cholesterol is the precursor to synthesize cholic acid, bile acids, but the cholic acid had to conjugate with the taurine and involved in the lipid digestion. However, taurine is deficient, so the lipid digestion decreased. The methionine is the precursor of the glutathione, is a antioxidant event. So if the feed deficient in methionine, the glutathione synthesis decreased and the oxidative stress increased. And the carnitine involved in the long-chain fatty acids metabolism. So carnitine deficient, the long-chain catabolism will decrease. The lysine and the methionine is the precursor to synthesize carnitine. So overall here we can see the soybean meal deficient in cholesterol, taurine, methionine, lysine, and carnitine. So overall reduce the lipid utilization and maybe cause some fatty liver or some visceral fat accumulation. The second issue is the One Health issue. So this is provided by World Health Organization. So they talk about the health of people, animals, and the ecosystem. So human health, environment health, and animal health. So in this One Health issue, the first one we talk about is for human health. So how to reduce the harmful contaminations, to reduce the antibiotic. So how to replace or reduce the antibiotic in aquaculture or in aquafeed, and the heavy metals. So, and the third one, recently our team tried to have some work about the microplastic. When we survey the papers around the world, we can see if microplastic into the aqua feed, that will cause some damage, such as aesthetic damage, tissue damage, organ inflammation, gene expression, and others, gene toxicity, or poor growth and high mortality. This is a very serious issue if our feed contains microplastic. However, the fish, if they survive, that will become the human food. So, for human, if we ingest with the microplastic, so recent research indicate the microplastic, maybe environment, maybe in food, will cause many disease for human. So microplastic will be the next serious problems in the aquafeed or in human food. And the second one is for us, how to improve the benefit components that will be improve health of human. The first one is EPA or DHA. Yeah. The second one is trace minerals. I will show you later. For us, the strategy to improve fatty acid nutrition. The first one is an easy way we can do is add more fish oil. However, the cost and the sustainable issue. So I think this is another good way. The second one is microalgae. So in the past, we cooperate with the local commercial company. They provide the microalgae to be the oil source for grouper. So our results found the microalgae can be used. The fish oil replacer is no problem. They can increase the DHA. However, the cost. In lab research, we buy the microalgae meal and oil. It's about 1 kilogram is $100 US. So it's too high. So it's impossible to include in the fish feed. However, if we can reduce the cost in the future, yeah, so it's possible to replace. I know in Norway they try to use the microalgae oil to replace Atlantic salmon fish oil. And the third one is a washout technique. This is a feeding strategy. So in the early periods, we maybe use a plant oil to replace fish oil, but before the market size, we increase the fish oil levels to improve the DHA or EPA levels in fish muscle, so can increase their nutritional values. However, if we calculate in the final stage, the feed amount is much higher in the early stage. So if we calculate that we can reduce the fish oil use is not much. And recently we try to use another way is metabolic regulation by elements. Here is our recent research. We use a trace minerals, selenium, and results very clearly indicate that we add 0.3 to 1 milligram selenium per kilo can increase the DHA and the EPA retention. And we also analyze the fatty acid metabolic enzymes such as elongase and desaturase, the two key enzymes involved in the DHA and EPA biosynthesis. So we can see here is very significantly increased when we increase the selenium level. So by this way, we can adjust maybe some trace minerals levels. So in our recent research, we also found we increase the copper, and also the zinc, and also increase the DHA and EPA levels in tilapia research. And this is another case for selenium nutrition. We use different chemical forms. The organic selenium is majorly storage in muscle, and the inorganic selenium is majorly storage in liver. So in this case, we analyzed the muscle selenium concentration. So we found the organic selenium, their concentration is quickly increased rather than the inorganic form. So let's calculate by the DRI is a nutritional standard for human. So in DRIS for human, it suggests that every day we have to ingest 55 microgram selenium to maintain the human health. So in our case, if we add 1.49 milligram selenium per kilo in the grouper feed, so the selenium concentration is 0.65 microgram per gram. So it means if we consume 100 gram fillet, we can satisfy the selenium requirement for all the human. So we combine the fish nutrition and also human nutrition in this study. The issue 2 is environment health. So in aquaculture, I think the water pollution is a very old problem. But besides the water and the solid pollution, recently we talk about greenhouse gas. So here we can see the figure. If we feed the feed to fish, the aquafeed, some injected by the fish and some cause uneaten feed and the nutrient leaching, and the nitrogen waste will convert into the nitrous oxide, and the organic matter can be converted by the microorganism into the nitrous oxide, methane, also the carbon dioxide. So all these are the greenhouse gas. So for us to control the aqua feed deliver and also to control the feed, reduce the leaching, reduce the nitrogen waste, and reduce the uneaten feed is our future work to control the greenhouse gas. And the third issue is animal health. So for us, because our research is focused on fish nutrition and fish health. So the question is how to reduce or to stop to use the antibiotic in aquaculture. So our answer, one of our answer is a nutritional strategy. So we can use, we can adjust the essential nutrients and the immunostimulants. So here I will show you the grouper. Yeah, if we estimate their requirement by the growth parameter is about 100, and for immunity is 200 to 400. So we calculate the immunity to growth ratio is about 2 to 4 times. It means if we want to increase the health of fish, we can increase the vitamin E levels. For grouper is 2 to 4. And the other fishes, we can see here, almost fish can improve their growth. And another case is vitamin C is very similar results. Almost all the research is show if we increase the vitamin C levels, can increase the immunity of the fish. So here I just show you the 2 cases. Actually, many essential or non-essential nutrients can improve animal health. The second case is immunostimulants. The first one is nucleotides. So in the past research, so increase add some nucleotide. The commercial purified nucleotides can improve fish or shrimp immune responses and also the disease resistance. And in our team, in our university, we use some brown seaweed to extract some functional components, and we add into the shrimp the velamine for and freshwater prawn and also grouper and the other fish, and the results found that can improve the immunity and also improve disease resistance. And the third one is phytochemicals. So now many research about extracts from herbal, especially the traditional herbals in China or in India, and the essential oil, such as many research in Brazil, they use some citrus essential oil to improve intestinal health for the fish. And our team, we have some work about agricultural waste. So such as this banana peel, the extract can improve animal health. And another one is probiotic. As we know, the probiotic means the life microorganism. But the prebiotic is maybe some oligosaccharides or some polysaccharides can improve the growth of probiotic. And the symbiotic is a combined prebiotic and probiotic. However, the live bacteria used in aquafeed is a serious problem because of the high temperature. The processing may be the extruder or the pillating that will cause very high temperature. So the probiotic is not easy to use unless we mix the probiotic before we feed it, not in the processing. So recently have some idea is the postbiotic. That is we capture the probiotic and we kill the probiotic and to keep the enzymes, maybe some metabolites and some organic acid so namely the postbiotics. So used in aquafeed can prevent high temperature destruction. Okay, the final issue we talk about agricultural waste recycling. This is for the 12 SDGs. It's ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. So this issue is talking about how to use the waste recycling. So this is Aquacycle. It's a project in European, and so they hope to use the agricultural byproduct to be the food additives, industrial materials, renewable energy, feed ingredients, or biorefinery to reuse the agricultural byproduct. So later I will show you some our teamwork. The first one is the water hygiene. This is aquatic plant, and especially in river or in the lake. So our team collect the high water hygiene. We use maybe water extract or ethanol extract, and we found the water extract can improve the immune responses and the disease resistance for giant freshwater prawn. And the second one is banana peel. Our teamwork, we found the hot water extract can improve freshwater prawn and also the velamine growth and also the immune responses. And in another case, we found for monodon, the banana peel extract used in monodon can improve their reproduction ability. So our team have a serious research about to use banana peel. And here I show you some about the research, and the results also show the immune responses can be improved by adding these additives. And the case 3 is cacao the pot husk. Now it's widely cut plant in Pingtung. So we see here the cocoa just about 80 to 90% waste. So we just collect the cocoa seed. So their husk be the big problem to maybe cause the environment impact. So we collect the cocoa husk and we use our traditional method. We extract by water or by ethanol, and the results indicate can improve growth and also improve the immune responses. However, they still leave many high amounts waste. So the second step, we use the cocoa pod husk, and then we use a probiotic to ferment the cocoa pod husk. So we produce fermented cocoa pod husk, so we can reduce the waste. And we found cocoa pod husk, they can reduce the use of binder because they contain some amount of pectin, so they can replace the binder. So we can reduce the use of maybe wheat flour, or sometimes we use alpha starch can reduce. So in this research, we use the cocoa pod husk and we try to reduce the waste. So we use the fermentation to keep their functional ingredient used in the Aquafeed. And in this case is the mangosteen, yeah, and their mangosteen peel or their husk can use as a functional feed ingredient. So in our case, the freshwater prawn, we add some mangosteen extract can improve, the growth and some immune responses. And here is the case for lemon. In Pingtung is the major lemon culture area, about 80 to 90% of the Taiwan. So we use the lemon peel to be the fish feed ingredient. But in our first step, we try to use the lemon peel to improve fish flavor. However, the peel is show the bitter flavor, so fish don't like the feed. So the second step, we use the probiotic to treat the lemon peel. So we have serial study. We use a fermented lemon peel. The results improve Asian sea bass, white shrimp, and also grouper health. And in the case of Asian sea bass, the results indicate the intestinal entities can be repaired by adding the fermented lemon peel. Okay, so actually in the future, I think many work we can do to meet the sustainable aquaculture issue. So the first one is we have to continue to look for the innovative feed ingredients. So here I will show you the insect and the microalgae is a potential protein and lipid sources in Aquafeed. So this is a case, it's a project from Norway. They try to use insect as a black soldier fly and microalgae oil to replace fish meal and to replace fish oil. The second one is the new biotechnology can be involved. This is a news. This professor is from National Cheng Kung University, and in his job, he developed an immune inhibition technology. In this case, the inhibition is suppress the myostatin. This is a protein that can depress the growth of muscle because this protein is regulate the energy. So if the gene of myostatin depressed, the fish can grow faster. So in this case, they develop a new feed additives to improve fish, especially muscle growth. The future word 3 is flavor enhancement feed additives. As I talk about for the lemon peel, actually the first study I hope to improve tilapia flavor by the lemon peel. So the results indicate if we add the lemon or whole fruit or lemon can improve tilapia fillet flavor. They can show the weak lemon flavor. However, in Taiwan, the tilapia is we consumed after cooking, so the flavor is disappears. So we try to use other method to improve the flavor. So this is a case in solid work. It's an envelope. It's sometimes we call that unforgettable fish, but sometimes we call that unforgettable is because the first one is that is very delicious, so we unforgettable. The second one is that is very expensive, so we unforgettable. So the envelope, this fish, because they eat the fruits fall from the riverside trees, so they can improve their special nutty flavor. The second one, I just come back from Japan, the Japan Aquaculture Expo, and this is my first time to test this is the orange flavor sea brain. In Japanese is mikandai. It means they use the orange waste after the maybe juice processing. They use the waste into the recipient feed. So the fillet show the orange flavor. However, this is my first time to see this. The color is still show the yellow compared to the maybe white catch or other culture recipient. So I think this is another problem because of the fillet color. But if we test it, yeah, they show the orange flavor in your mouth. So the fruit flavor fish maybe is another way to improve fish flavor or fish maybe taste or something. So in the future work, if we consider by the consumer, just be a consumer, we how to select the fish. So the most flavor, maybe color or something, is why we chose this fish. Okay, that's always my research team for my student, and thank you very much.
Okay, thanks Roger, and thanks the organizer. I'm really happy that we have this opportunity getting the industry all together, from the maybe the people in the live foods until the processing. Today my topic is actually a very basic topic. It's a protein. Yep. So we are from Addicio. Addicio is basically a French-based company. And nowadays we have stock shareholder also from China, the big the fine chemistry company in China. So it used to be the largest methionine producer in the world. We are also top 3 feed additive company in the world. Today, I'm not going to talk anything about additive. It's protein. It's a new product we have now in Addicio. It's a feed kind, right? It's not actually very new for aquaculture. Since like 10 years before, there is a company called Calista. It's a US company, have a plant in UK. So actually, the name has been changed because the stockholder changed. So that's why we have feed kind. Has very nutritious and sustainable image. Okay. We do have responsibility for greenhouse gas emission. Animal productions counts like for nearly 15% of those greenhouse gas emissions. Cattle is the biggest contributor. Next is pig and chicken. Aquaculture is not that so big contributor, but we still have 3% emissions among the animals. So in terms of the percentage, it's not that so big. But if you look at the next slides, you look at the per kilo of the food products, that's different. Fish and shrimp is basically next to beef and lamb. So we do produce certain amount of the contribute the gas emissions. So we do have responsibilities. Protein, as I think Jenny has mentioned, feed is the main cost of the farming. And protein is the number one, let's say the most expensive cost in the formulations. So cost is one thing. There's another issues of availability and quality. So I do have a lot of the clients actually look at not only price fluctuate is one issue, but another issue is the constant quality and availabilities. Every time when price of fish meal goes very, very high, it's because the availability, right? And this is sometimes very often is out of control. Then that causes high cost. Then the feed price go up, right? And farmers don't have choice. They have to follow. But you look at the cost of the fish meal raw material, when the price go down, did fish meal reduce the price? Well, we see, but very little. So that's the challenge of the farmers. They sometimes, really difficult to manage their business in terms of the cost management. The history of Fitkind is actually initiated from Calista. Even before is the Dubang technology. In 1999, then it's gone through a number of acquisition. Then found the company Calista is a California-based company. Then gone through again certain acquisition. Then they built the first plant in UK. At that moment, they done a great job in aquaculture, a lot of research, collaborations with key aquafeed players. Cargill, the CP, they even want to buy it. They buy the whole company because they see this is a protein sources. They want to just acquire it. It's my own, right? Unfortunately, those feed mill have other decisions. End of the day, Adisio, they acquire Calista. Then the first things they do is to think about a plan how to scale up the productions. Because the main issue of single cell protein is the scale, the volume. Calista used to do numbers of aquafeed trial with the big company, feed company globally. However, the volume they can produce is like a few hundred tons a year. Then nobody knows how to follow it, right? So the first things Adisio doing is to build the first, let's say, the real factories has a capacity of 20,000 tons of capacity in Chongqing. It's one province of China. And start to commercialize and scale up, then distribute products mainly in China, right? And why China? Because those big players in China, they are really eager to test new protein, novel protein. Why? Because they have limited resources of fish meal. They don't prefer to buy soybean meal from US or other countries. They basically look at what they could self-supply from China domestically. So the leader company, Hai, Tongwei, those big giant companies in China, they are looking for alternative protein they could self-supply from the countries. Next is Saudi Arabia. This is a typical energy company. So we have another 100,000 tons of capacity, actually in Saudi. A lot of people ask me why this is from methane and what is the features of the feed kind. Put that in simple way, it's a non-animal origin. It's not veg, so there is no issue of antibiotic residues. There is no porcine. There is no GMO, genetic modified. Basically, it's a bacterial protein. It's a bacterial protein. And the raw material of this protein is from natural gas. So there's a specific bacterials able to, let's say, consume the natural gas. And we fermented it, and it produced a very specific bacterial protein. So the process actually looks very simple. It starts from a certain fermentation process. Natural gas and a non-GMO microbial cultures mixed with a patent. It's a patent loop fermentations. So it looks simple. Oxygen, nitrogen, and methane go through a loop fermenter. But in fact, if that goes to scale up to 20,000 tons of capacity, that's totally different story. It's hard to maintain the same quality, protein level. So Adizio done a great big constructions to really produce consistent quality of the protein. So separations, single cell protein has been separated from the culture media. Then we use recycled water back to the loops. Then drying, packing, deliver. And this is actually the factories in Chongqing province. This is probably the largest gas single cell protein in China. There's only 2 companies can produce that. Because why? The raw material is actually the natural gas utility supply. There is a huge natural gas because Chongqing is one of the intensive gas productions in China. It's energy, let's say, the areas. So the core of production is in this area. There are 2 patent loop fermenter. Each loop produces 10,000 tons of the feed kind products. So 2 issues we have very much focus. One, efficiency, because fermentation is not like feed production. We go batch by batch. It has to be continuous, and one continued process, it produced 3,000 tons of the protein, one batch, continuously. There's no choice. You cannot produce 100, no. 3,000 at once. Second, safety. So, Chinese government is very strict on safety, and they don't want to see the factory exposure, right? So, safety is the first. That's why Adizio, as a fine chemical company, they have a lot of experiences to manage that safety. That's also a few companies are allowed to produce such protein in China. We start the factories from 2021. Back then, it goes fast. So we're commissioning the factories in 2022. Since 2023, 2 years ago, we started to distribute products mainly in China. Okay, we don't have volume to export to other countries in Southeast Asia or other continental. But this year, 2025, is the first year Adizio start to distribute certain volume to Southeast Asia. So we basically look at the key players, let's say the corporate feed mill. They are interested in those innovative protein. Then we do test, trial, and some of them, they already have experiences testing in the headquarters sites. They do application immediately. So it thinks we are looking for our efficiency and capacity right now. We use much less water versus soybean. We use nearly I would say the least land use footprints. So less water, less land. And a lot of the people asking, well, is this bacterial protein is safe? Is from gas, is it safe? But actually, if you look back the regulations of EU, single-cell protein from bacterials, from this specific bacterials, was actually in the approved list. So its carbon sources, its nitrogen sources of veg and or chemical origin, vitamin minerals. This is EU. And for FDA, they even specify notifer calista and substance and intended to use in salmon up to 18% of the diets. So EU and FDA both are basically approved such bacterial protein. Farming QS, ISO is also the basic for feed meal. Over the 20 years, we've done various of species research. I would say more than 45 publications over 22 species, including livestock species. We have so many different aqua species. I think the top, we have reached numbers of publication in salmon. The second is shrimp. Then we have also livestock animal, chicken and swine. We do have clients from swine feed industry. They use feed kind as alternative protein for fish meal that could prevent the diarrhea and etc. And also they also see the cost efficiency compared to using traditional fish meal. So again, the majority of application is in aquaculture, but we do have some application in livestock as well, and even pet food. Benefits. Basically, it's a high potential to replace fish meal. We've done quite numbers of trial together with big female player. Second and third is the health, immunity and gut health. And the last is also very interesting. It's about extrusion manufacturers, the feed qualities. I will explain a bit more later on. The inclusion rate of feed kind is somewhere between, well, depends on species, but I would say 8 to 30% inclusion rates of feed kind in the formulations. The potential of the fish meal replacement by feed kind, again, it depends on the species. We do have very success replacement, 100% in salmon and shrimp. But let's say the practical application is between 30% to 50% in the feed meal. Obviously, there is a cost reductions of producing aqua feed by such alternative protein. This approximate analysis of the feed kind versus other protein sources like fish meal, insect protein, etc. So we see very similar protein level of fish meal, feed kind versus fish meal, and lipid, about 8% of lipids, nearly zero fiber, so it's very high digestibility, and less ash and carbohydrate, right? And well-balanced amino acids. So the profile of amino acids is quite similar to fish meal protein. High digestibility. We do different digestibility trial in different species. I would say it's around 80% to 90%, depends on the species. In swine also, 85% in swine. We do have some application in livestock. But I would say the main user is today more shrimp feed producer and marine fish producers. Those use already high level of fish meal. They are very look at the cost of fish meal, quality of fish meal, and the physical properties of fish meal. So those are the main consumer today. What other benefits bring to feed producer? It's about inflammations. The gut inflammations. So we do have the trial to do fish meal replacement by soybean meal. So very often we see the integrity of the microvilli. Normally we see like flushing, laughing. So and inflammations, right? And we do fish meal replaced by soybean meal, but we also try to add on additional 2 to 8% of the feed kind, and try to look at how the microvilli goes. So basically, we see much better integrity of microvilli, mucosa cell evenly distributed, so that protects also the intestine. It helps the nutrient absorptions in the end, and also diversity of the microbiome. It's thanks to the fermentation process, I think. Survival. Products go through fermentation, so there are some functional substance also released through the fermentations. So we see the results from challenge tests in the shrimp. This is a shrimp trial. We do the challenge from rebuild hemolytics for both injections and immersions. So we see a reduction of mortalities through 3.5 to 10.5% of the feed kind inclusions. So there's a benefits for disease resistance in shrimp. Also fish. The large mouth sea bass is actually a typical, I would say, the medium to high value of sea bass in China. So large mouth sea bass, we see also the benefits of the disease preventions, right? So that improves the survival rates of the fish. And actually, it's thanks to fermentation and why we do have the guaranteed level of nucleotides. 5.2% of nucleotide was actually produced in these products. And versus fish meal and others, marine raw material, they do have some, but very little. So again, it's not just protein, it's other benefits for health. The last one, the beneficial also for the feed meal producers, especially those people working in the factories, in the extrusion machine. We do have research in pilot scale extrusion. It's actually a research institute, but it's a small pilot extrusion machine, and we see the benefits of using feed kind due to their unique physical properties. It helps the pellet durability. It's more durable, and for aquatic feed is very important. Second, it helps the expansion rates. The process is relatively light, right? Versus fish meal, animal protein is a bit light. So it helps floats, the fish floats, especially for marine fish, those high fat feeds, it helps floating. Maximize the oil absorptions, and that also helps the reduce the oil linkage, right? So those physical benefits for extrusion feeds, well, the idea is actually produce the high lipid feeds without oil lynching, with the best evenly flowability. But in terms of the production cost, for the benefits to the feed mill is actually they see they could use less steam through extrusion, and that steam for them is energy. So they convert that energy to how much watt per ton of feeds they could save. So eventually, the females see the benefits of using feed kind, produce more stable quality of marine fish feeds, but they also saving the steam, energy cost, electricity cost. They still could able to produce the high-fat marine fish feed. I don't have exact numbers, but it's around $8 to $10 per ton of feeds or energy saving in the plants. So it's a direct saving. Feed kind last year we gained the green light for Aquafeed in China. Maybe you say why China is the least after Europe and because they have so many regulations that not easy to fulfill. So, but now we have approved to also start the applications and distributions in China. This year, the first year, we can distribute to Southeast Asia. In Europe, already have that this is a pet food company. They use feed kind as a protein and distribute their pet food in Europe. And we do co-branding those sustainability image in the pet food industry. Other than that, how we approach the feed mill key players in the region is basically not just protein supplier. We also look at how we could supporting their sustainability reports. We do have our additional sustainable development reports that helps the customer and stock shareholder understanding our environmental, social, governance, distributions, etc. But we also try to engage the feed mill their sustainability reports. And how we do it, it's not easy. As Jenny mentioned previous time, not every feed mill likes to disclosure what I use, how many percentage, what raw material I use. People like, no, I won't disclosure that detail. So first step, we have to do something from in-house from the company. So all additional additive products nowadays have to go through a process of LCA, called a life cycle assessment, each product. So we have to share those results to feed mill user, how products could contribute each different segments. So as a beginner, we are beginner, yeah? And we have to do something very basic in the foundations area. Second, for those companies interested to test and try, we do the training for their people, training people, and it depends on the needs. Then they start to realize how sustainability can go through. After that, we have certain mutual understanding. And the second step is to discuss a little bit further detail, optimize the formulations, right? So that we can go a little bit deeper, how many percentage, what raw materials, and what in the end, what it could contribute to your reports, right? And it has to be clear. You have a figure and data, then it's become a co-project collaborations. At the end of the day, we expect those numbers, reports are certified. So there's another third party will get involved. So we want to complete that whole story in the end, really deliver the true value to feed mill and processor. That's our end goal. Okay, so that's my presentation, and thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sean. I'm working in U.S. Soybean Export Council. Previously, it's American Soybean Association. The easy way, if you ask me what I'm doing, one sentence to describe that would be, my job is making the U.S. soy become the fish feed. That is my job. But along the way, I realized that actually it's much more than what complicated than the just only taking care of the feed part. Then I need to worry about the production manager, management, and also the some of the disease issue. It end up that realize when you want to deal with feed, all that responsibility will fall on the person who try to sell the feed or to sell the additives too. So that is what the reality. Okay, so today is the Sustainable Aquaculture certification from the operation scope. Well, because basically you see all those logos that is getting familiar with the certified that aquatic product. In Taiwan, basically you won't see those in the domestic market. Where you're gonna go to see those? Maybe some of the major logistics, Costco or Costco ASC in Costco in Taiwan, and the others too. But you need to go to those major big logistic company, be able to identify, because domestically don't require that. So that is the mostly of the seafood product, aquatic product, when you try to sell to export to the other country, then is the requirement, and that is the where the certification program actually will be add on into the production and all the processing or the feed mill. Yeah, for those like value add auditing. Okay, so today I'm not gonna talk about those because that also include the labor, welfare, social impact, all that. But today will be only on the aquaculture itself, right? So basically, there are some of the sustainable farming, and I'm starting with the site selection and the farm design. Basically, this is involve a lot of the carbon exchange. When you want to put money into the area, and then saying like, I want to establish the aqua farm here, a lot of case now is that how much you're going to utilize the dam. However, you will need to be able to install or store those carbon back to the same area to be able to comply to the local compliance. And then the other things more like the other country, that if you have the offshore cage, that actually we're getting more and more detail into the environmental factors. That I just select some of those like equipment that nowadays actually you are really able to using those easy devices to be able to precisely detect that what's the environment here. I even see some people using just the water depth meter to identify a larger pond to be able to design how to do the aeration in your pond. One thing I learned from those professional people is the best way to moving water is not necessarily the aerator, but is propeller, because that's what human designed to moving water. But when you need to really making the oxygen high, that narrow bubble technology, like this morning actually we hear from several speakers and also the audience here, that actually if you combine both, actually comes out the best economic package. Not necessarily you put all over the aerator, all over the pond, right? So this is some of those sustainable, but need to be precisely planned on your operation. Okay. The other one here is the second one is the hatchery and nursery operation. Well, this the SPF. Right now, probably SPR, the specific pathogen resistant, is a better approach, because we realize that free from the pathogen and put into the commercial production area, you usually end up with the disaster. Okay, so that is more on the specific pathogen resistant broodstock, and then the selective breeding. Those technology I actually see some other country doing. In this case, actually, this is in Thailand. This is in Thailand, a tilapia farm and the hatchery. They are using ultrasound to detect the follicle and the egg oxy development, plus the fish contour image recognition to be able to identify the quality of the broodstock with the genetic, like a genetic tree, to be able to know that who are the closer family fish and who are not, be able to do the selective breeding. Those kind of things that in the past, we thought that it's kind of far away from the aquaculture, but nowadays, the human medicine application into the fish farm right now become the reality and more going. But again, that what I'm introducing today is ongoing, okay? It's not on research. This means already had the people doing this and they are seeking for improvement, all right? So those are already existing in the industry. But just again, that I pick up this from the Thailand case, right? The other one is the big part of that is about my profession. That's the feed and nutrition. The feed actually is share the biggest cost into the fish production. The sustainability focus basically is still the reducing the animal marine animal, the meal and the oil. So using the plant protein, algae, insect, and other microbial. Of course, that all of them have their advantage and disadvantage. Even the insect meal, the black soldier fly recently is the hot topic, but also realize that different time of the larvae development stage actually comes out different the nutrition profile. So how they will make those become stable in the nutrition quality and be able to apply to the commercial formulation basis is still, even until today, is some of the issue, which means that the quality is varied sometimes. That soybean actually have several sustainability certification already, and that is usually we see on the well, this is because this is from the U.S. soy, so I specifically, that if you search on Google the SSAP, and you'll find that there's a U.S. actually right now comes out the certification to indicate that by using U.S. soy with the SSAP certified soy meal, that to be make your feed to be one of the sustainable ingredient sources. And they also comply with this is all the ESG different compliance of the biodiversity, the less impact, and the carbon storage. Some of that is the labor, health, and the welfare, production, precision, and the control measure, or the environmental impact. Those the ESG requirement. So this is the one that we are the most of the USEC. But actually, soy is not only this certification only. If I look at the others, that like Endo Trust or the Certified B Corp, those two, sometimes you will see that in the insect meal production. Marine Trust, everybody know that that's from the fish meal production, sustainability. Poterra and the Roundtable on Responsible Soy, RTRS, those two actually is the other sustainable soy source certification too, and on the market, yeah. And Europe, as is the European Renders Association, basically you're dealing with some of the animal meals that they do have some of the production sustainability certification. So actually, you look at that the whole things that even to make an Aquafeed only, there's many different certification to really make one single pellet of the Aquafeed nowadays. It's really much more complicated than in the past. So those are the feed ingredients and some of the case of the formulation. But I believe that the Dr. Ling already mentioned about the fish in, fish out ratio, all that. So I'm not gonna cover all that now. But right now, feeding. Right now, the feeding in the offshore cage operation in the Western country, I've been seeing that in Turkey, Greece, Norway, basically their feeding, it just looks like this. You are sitting inside a Star Wars control room to be able to look at all that monitors that and then see how's the feeding situation. And the funny thing is that the guy here who do the control, I have been checking at least more than 10 company, and I all realized that they tend to not hire the aquaculture people to reduce the bias. The training into those is basically you look at the instrument. The computer will tell you increase the feeding or reduce the feeding. But aquaculture people will look at the screen and then look at the number, but look at the computer and feeling like, I think, then will create a bias. So many of those that actually, they will put the aquaculture people really on the farm side, but not on the control room side. That is what I found that is really interesting. But what they are recently improving is the, let me see if I can play this video. So it's how to, okay. So, okay, this is from Innova Sea producing cobia in Panama. What you see, the little, that the blue circle, that is the detect of the feed pellet dropping into the water. What they are importing now, instead of looking at the number of those pellets have been detected, right now they are captured the image on the cobia is eating the feed, that kinds of the action, all right? In the past, it's only able to look at how much feed is in the water and how much feed actually drop below this camera, so they know that they need to reduce. But the next step right now they are doing, but not commercialized yet, is be able to detect the behavior, the action. So from the image recognition, starting become a action recognition. And the others, well, and the others will also, okay, see if I can able to play this one. So biomass estimation, basically, again, they detect the fish in the short distance, be able to recognize the fish, and then by the recognize the body length girths, that be able to give you the number in predicting how big is the fish and what's the biomass in the cage. That one, again, that you see, they are not able to do that many fish in one time. It's always require the fish close to the camera enough to be able to have the reading. Again, the next generation right now they are doing is changing to the next generation by using a lot of the GPU. And let me see. So yeah, so again, that what they are doing right now is using oops. So in the past, is to recognize the fish itself. And then when the fish is close enough, you recognize the fish and then be able to estimate the biomass. But now, the next generation they are doing is to detect the fish behavior in action with the depths, so that the system will be much more accurate and precise. But again, that by doing that, a lot of the training is required. So in the future, it will some way somehow looks like this, but in action. And you're gonna have long distance far away from the camera, or the one is very close to the camera, still be able to just recognize those. But again, that require a lot of the training, that the system is accumulating a lot of those video, and then again and again they're training the system until one day be able to detect that more precisely. So right now this is what's happening, okay? It's already have the system, but it's not that efficient. However, right now it just try to make it more precise. What it relates to know the precise biomass so that you can control the feeding. Yeah. And the next one is the daily operation and energy use. I believe that tomorrow everyone will go down there, you still see a lot of the traditional pedal wheel aerator. Quite a bit of the, well, this picture actually is from China that using a lot of the solar panel and then DC motor, 48 volt. Anyone play with the solar power here? You probably were very sensitive for the 48 voltage because that is what the solar panel comes out in the first converter to the voltage like this. So if you have four piece of the solar panel, immediately you can link with the DC motor to be like air blower to push the air into the water and causing, this is type is we call it the white water unit aerator, white water unit type of the aerator. Those kind of things actually is developed more and more. And I believe that when you go in South Asia, in the European country, we do see some of those aeration system is getting using the energy saving resources. And I believe that certification program in the future, we're also starting to look at that. How much is your SAE, the oxygen transfer ratio by the electricity you use? How those is kind of the things that in the future we'll be able to starting to have a requirement maybe. Yeah. And then healthy and biosecurity. Well, no antibiotics right now is the hot topic. Although myself that is not that type of the, I'm more on if you can using the drug correctly, safely, using the good quality, you can get the fish through. But nowadays that is more on the not using antibiotics. And then the narrow technology and functional feed for immunity. Recently, another human medicine application to aquaculture is the Forge technology. So they're using, actually they same up the human immunity development. But right now they just apply to the fish and using the Forge to some specific bacteria or the virus to be able to improve the immunity and fight with some of the pathogen. And the but again that those are the one that actually right now is still ongoing development because again that technology score is 100, but the economic issue is always a consideration. All right. And okay. So this is what this is the automatic vaccination system. It's actually have been developed for years, but they have one problem is that they always need to select the similar size of the fish, put it there, and then into the machine at that corner. This is the gauge and needle actually put the vaccine into the fish. In the past, you will need to select the same size of the fish because the depth, the size of the gauge, the depth of the needle to go into the peritoneal injection, that was need to be same size of the fish. But right now, image recognition can change that. You detect the fish size and then they inform the needle and the volume of the vaccine, how much you need to go into the fish. Now it's become very, very interesting topic now. Yeah. So this is what, so again, that it's already existing in the market, but they are improving. Yeah. Oops. Okay, so monitoring and the fund management. The IoT, basically, the biggest change on that is anything happen in the farm, all the information in one step that kind of inform every department of the company. Basically, that is the biggest difference because in the past that You got farm worker and then report to the farm manager. The farm manager report to the operation manager. Then the operation manager decide to how to distribute work. But nowadays, that basically all those information is linking together, and then anything happen, basically all the information spread to all the department of the company, so that it's very, very quickly be able to determine that the, for example, like reduce the feeding or the extra supply will require, so the purchasing department can react immediately. Those kind of the things actually, it take in the past take days. Right now, it become a few minutes is possible. So basically, that is what the to me that's the biggest difference. But the rest of the energy use and the certification compliance, of course, the system be able to provide that to be able to comply the requirement. Waste environment management, basically the production and loading the nutrient to the environment in aquaculture seems to is a very, very big issue, because always have the people complain about that. So you will see the integrated multi-trophic aquaculture, IMTA, is in the cage side. The feedback, at least from Asia, when we try to do that, actually it always have pros and cons, because when I put a lot of the other organism around the cage, sometimes the farmer complain about, and my parasites number increase too. That is one of the side effect. Not necessarily always bad, but it have some side effect. Or the seaweed, sometimes it create a lot of the mucus in the water, so that in the area, it does reduce the nitrogen, but also the viscosity of the water starting cranking up on that some of the, and the others is like waste capture and the reuse of the water. Then RAS, recirculation aquaculture system, is a nice piece, but cost is very high. And also you do some very, very special function, high value for that. Otherwise that is gonna be too difficult to deal with that. And I put this is the in-pond raceway. We actually, USAC actually promoted and developed some days before. It just looks like a raceway in the pond. All the fish production here, and on the outside here, we put some service species where the fish is taking the algae, or some of that is taking the bottom organic matter, like the cavefish type of the species, and the other, and be able to collecting the waste from the tail of the raceway and put into some of the sediment tank here, and then get that. Later on, I think that we'll have a closer drone video on this one. Yeah. So the wastewater from the tail of the raceway, sediment 1, 2, 3, and aerate, and then become the long trough. Here's the water go back to the pond in this way, to be able to control the collecting the waste, but control the water quality. Stocking, a lot of the aeration, because at harvest, so far the highest we reach in sea bass, Barramundi sea bass, we reach about 75 kilo per cubic meter. That is but again, that's all require a lot of the aeration. This is traditional AC motor. That's what we are improving, try to convert it to that DC motor, which usually is half of the energy consumption only. So we go into the water and look at the fish here. This is in Cha-Chen-Sao also. So it's quite, yeah. I run this project in Thailand. Yeah, because Thailand really have lots of the sea bass too. Yeah, and this is the harvest. One thing that the farmer like is that right now harvesting several hundred kilo become possible. In the past, you're gonna sink the whole pond and then get tons of the fish to go. But right now, this is the way they do. And Thailand is quite interesting. Everyone have a small pickup truck, and each pickup truck has several of the tank. Each one of the tank go to the different seafood restaurant. Pretty flexible, but very efficient in the live fish transfer. So this is kind of the new. But again, that the point here is that this type of the system is be able to collecting the fish waste from the aquaculture pond, so that you'll be able to sustain the pond water usage longer time. So the short summary, the integration of the sustainable certification. Well, again, that because I think this morning I asking Bumi, right? Yeah, the different approach to the final goal. Although it's still, I believe so, that it's still very difficult because every certification stands for the different either market share and also the some of even have the financial group that into it. But a lot of the redundant codes and acts that in those regulation. And nowadays that for example, with the certification, sustainable aquaculture is getting more on the either national, regional, or the global trend that, for example, I think it's in November in Bangkok, we're starting to have a Southeast Asia Tilapia Association. They try to form a regional one to be able to starting look at that, like Malaysia had Malaysia's MyGap, GAP, and then Thailand had Thailand. So different good aquaculture practice that it seems to, at least from some country, would like to integrate it together to be able to come out a similar approach, but it's more regional, so that when they're facing the international market, will be more viable to be able to handle the market change. And the others is that I believe that the AI application, the image or the action recognition, this part in the past, when we have only CPU to run that, is still quite a bit of the burden to run that. But right now, change to GPU is well become like more capable to capture in action and then be able to give you a fairly precise information on that. I know that the Innovasi is working on those, but I don't know what company they take it in. AMD just right next to this building, okay? That's just right here. And NVIDIA just on the other side of the sea. But those are the one that using GPU starting to capture and building their own database to be able to detect that's the fish either biomass or the feeding situation. I think that will be more precision. Robust for aquaculture, like neck cleaning and neck change. Yeah, that happened already long time ago. But I see some people comes out the pond bottom cleaner recently. So when your fish is still in the pond, when your shrimp is still in the pond, you feel there's too much organic matter. Yeah, someone had that machine kind of go like had the rail and go into the pond, starting using those detect this image, that sonar to be able to detect the situation and decide where have the suction to remove some of the organic matter. Yeah, and that's some of the new and feed ingredients, feed additive, probably in the processing production method and then impact the degree to environment. So it become like more and more important certification compliance in the future. Or sometimes classified to be the monofunction or multifunction uses to be able to classify the use of the feed additive and then have specific certification for them on hot topic carbon footprint. Right now, even I do the feed formulation for the other people, I also need to provide that how much CO2 is from this formulation now. It's very different from the past. I'm still keep learning the things, but precision operation become a requirement of the sustainable aquaculture. That probably is the one that we are able to avoid. That's become the very, very required. And the precision is probably not necessary to be one standard for the whole Earth. It probably will still take a step for different country or different region to eventually move you up to a level that is the international market can accept. Thank you very much. Yeah.